Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to Epic Realms Off the Pod with our special guest today, amazing streamer on twitch.tv/PennyPootato. Welcome, Penny
Hi.
Potato. How are you doing?
Hello. Doing good. Happy to be here. How you doing?
Turn it up. Yeah, turn it up. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like they're actually telling you to turn it up?
Maybe. I think sometimes Maxis comes in and he's like, this is what happens when you're gone for 2 weeks with COVID, and that's after you've been gone for 2 other weeks for holidays and funerals. Everybody's catching up. So, but yeah, sometimes people will come in and they'll try and they'll be like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, you can't hear me? Do you need me to? And I'll say it. And then they're like, oh, I got you. By the way, I have you to thank for this.
Me?
Yes, you. You're the one that gave me the idea of the trolley alerts that people like. Thank you, everybody, for the subs. Thank you, Rockheim, for the 5 bomb. Much appreciated, everybody. I appreciate you all. Lyric Lost subscribing, Redneck Jedi, Bentley, King Iden. Welcome on in, everybody. Love you all. Feel free. We'll do some shout outs here a little later on for everyone.
That should not be clipped, guys. That should not be clipped. Don't you dare do it.
Thank you, Lyric, for the Like a Good Neighbor. Epic is here. So yeah, all of these alerts, these are all your fault because I saw yours and I'm like, that is so fun to have these horrible trolley alerts. And then it's like, well, I'll just put these other alerts in here. These aren't really trolly. And then somebody goes, you need to have this as an alert. And I'm like, no, I hate that clip. You're like, yeah, that's why you should put it in there. It's like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, you find the things that's like, I hate this to a point where I'm upset, and then I hate this. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. But if I make it expensive enough, maybe nobody will touch it.
Right. Do you do that? Do you look at your clips and go, okay, I'm willing to listen to this as long as it's for this amount. Then I know I'm willing to listen to that if it's for that.
Yeah. I'm being paid to be put in pain. Yes, pretty much. I will suffer if it's for this.
Right.
But yeah, that's it's part of the job. We're putting ourselves out there. We're gonna have those moments.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Penny, their chat, and you've got the chat up so you can see just as good as I. Thank goodness, because gosh, if I had to read all these to you, and the crowd goes wild. So yeah, thank you all for coming in here. We've got a handful. The format's changed a little bit because we had like 7 last time. We had like 7 topics and we went for 30 minutes, and that was a damn near 5-hour stream. That's not what's going to happen tonight.
Well, and then you got slammed with COVID.
And then then I got slammed with COVID afterwards. So today,
actually, weren't you starting to feel sick during that?
Yeah, that was the last Off the Pod with Octavius. I had a sore throat. Excuse me. I had a sore throat, and I just thought it was because we went for 5 hours doing this nonstop. So I assumed I just had a sore throat.
Yeah.
And then everybody started testing positive. It was like, you got to be kidding me. No. So I've got cough drop in. I've taken cough medicine from like not over the counter prescription cough medicine. So we'll see if I'll do my best not to cough. I'll try to mute myself if I do. But you guys will understand. But we're still here. And hopefully I will still be able to come in for the rest of the week tomorrow, and I'll stay on schedule this week and see what we got for shows. So every 20 minutes, the subject will change, and we have 4 subjects that we're going to talk about, and we'll probably chat about other stuff here and there as the evening progresses, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's unavoidable. We have a lot to talk about between the two of us, and then with this awesome community has a lot of stuff that they like to say to contribute. So it's kind of impossible to stay completely on track all the time.
Exactly. Completely on. You're always on track, though. You're like always on track, always caught up on chat. This is going to be horrible because I'm not very good at keeping up on chat either. So between the two of us, maybe.
I mean, like, what? Listen, I see things eventually. That's ultimately what counts.
Right.
Even if it's an hour later, I do see everything. I read everything.
another thing that I'm not starting it yet, because I just looked up and I saw that we're at a hype train. I'm not doing it tonight. I'll start it after I'm fully healed from COVID. But every level of hype train, we're gonna do the spicy chips, not the super spicy chips, but the ghost pepper chips. That way, you guys get something for having hype train. So, that's good because I pulled it off of our channel partner awards. So I wanted to mention that, as well.
Can I make a request that you like alternate it with like your specialty drinks, because I think those are like the coolest things you've talked about doing. Like you're like, oh yeah, I'm just having this like, oh, just some light gin and some syrup that I made from scratch, like, you know, earlier today, because that's just something that people do. Like only you and Lyric, I swear.
Yeah, I love those, and I you know, I had this idea of doing short like videos on how to make the cocktails, and have them, I'd upload them to YouTube, and then whenever I'm making that or I'm having that drink that night, if people ask, I can play the video, so they can see.
You've said that to me in the past, and I always have thought that is a spectacular idea. I love hearing about your fancy schmancy drinks that you have. And
I have to get down to do the video. That's the problem.
That's true. That's true. We have so many ideas, but putting them into play sometimes can be difficult.
Pixel wants to know what's wrong with making rosemary simple syrup from scratch. I do that all the time.
Okay, well, not everybody does, Pixel.
All right. Spicy chips would clear his chest, though. No. Unlurking to say Epic hates his stomach. Well, that might be the case. I might hate my stomach. All right, so our first topic is... I'll go first so that you have time to think. The first topic is board games. We both like board games. Penny likes to play board games, and you can't really play board games on stream. I know Steven the Shark and Pixel Nix and yourself and Nine did that Barcadia game, which is kind of a board game, kind of role-playing on stream. And I love board games as well, and we've chatted off streams about board games, but it's never really been a focus on either of our streams. We've never really talked in depth about board games, unless I'm interviewing a board game designer, obviously. So I thought, hey, let's talk about board games. What is it that you like about board games? What is it you don't like about board games? What is it that you're like, oh, that's the kind of board game I would like to play? So let's start this little countdowner. 20 minutes on the board. So for me, I know my wife can't stand if somebody reads the instructions to her, she has to read the instructions. And I'm hands-on, like I can't read the instructions to learn the game. And if I'm sitting down to learn the game and the person teaching the game is reading the instructions, I'm like, read the instructions ahead of time, then let's play. Because I don't want to sit there and watch somebody else reading it. So that's kind of a dislike for me, and it has nothing to do with the games themselves unless they're super complicated. But I like moving parts, and I like strategy in my board games. Okay. I like to see things. I like to look at things a couple steps ahead and be able to kind of see where things are going.
So you and Catan then?
Yeah, I like a Catan. I like there's a game called Lords of Waterdeep, which is a lot of fun, where you're moving pieces around, and Ticket to Ride is a good one that I enjoy. Stuff like that. Now, I like a lot of other games as well. There's a ton of other games that I like.
Different variety.
I like to have some moving parts to it. The super simple shoots and ladders type games, it might be a little lost on me, just because it's like, okay. But when you can do stuff, when you can affect other players, or if you're working together, Pandemic is a great one, where it's like you're working together and you're like, you gotta get your pieces and help out.
We're going to get like cocaine and waffles.
No, like if I say peanut butter and
ladies.
It's funny though that you mentioned Pandemic, because I hated that game. I've always hated that game, but I love another one that the people who make that game has made. I can't remember it for the life of me, but it's a cooperative game where everything's working against you, but you are trying to work together to do the stuff. So I don't quite understand what it is about Pandemic that I hate, other than the fact that it feels so very overwhelmingly against you. Yeah. Like they want you to lose. They want you to lose so bad. but I think that what you said is similar to a vibe that I've felt in the past. I used to play board games all the times, especially with my ex, and we had a very regular like once a week board game night. And it got to the point because we had such an awesome group of nerds coming together for this. And I was like, I am always down to try a game that you care about and that you want to share with me. But I do ask that if you're going to teach us a new game, know it before you get here, because I don't want to spend like these precious hours that we have.
Right.
Because I had a son at the time. This was like my one night where I got to like do my stuff. And so I was just like, I don't want to sit here and like all of us trying to learn the game like on the spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a little hypocritical of me because I do generally depend on other people knowing how to play. So it's like, teach me, I'll ask you the questions and we can go along that way. But
Right.
but if you're learning it too, then this is just going to take all night.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Is there a game?
Forbidden Island, yeah.
Forbidden Island? I played
Yeah.
Forbidden Desert,
Yes, that's a good one too.
and that's also a fun one. We just played that one over the holidays. I also don't like open-ended games where it's like, okay, you have to judge, and then one person's like, well, it means this, so that's the answer. Or it means, where the players kind of decide the thing.
Collectively.
So I cards. When I first started, Cards Against Humanity was fun and it was kind of funny. But the more I played it, the more I just didn't like it, because there wasn't really any real rules to it. It's like, is it who's saying the worst thing? Is it who's saying the funniest thing? Is it a read your opponent sort of thing? And the company itself is, what company goes, yeah, it's Black Friday, let's jack up the prices 500% because we hate our customers. Like that kind of, yeah. So stuff like that, yeah. And anything where the rules are subjective or they aren't very clear cut and people will argue about the rules or what they mean, I'm not here for that.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like butting heads.
Like, yeah, anything that can cause like friction, but you have to be careful with that with any gaming group, because not everybody is going to have the same level of chill or sense of humor about things, or preferable play style. Some people like to go into a board game specifically to be as a big of a winner as they can possibly be. It's not necessarily about the laughter amongst friends. It's like, I'm here for strategy. Like, I want to get the W. And it's like, and then other people are like, hey, like it's just a game, man. Like let's just have fun. So I destroyed your city. Like, come on.
I think that's one reason I like co-op games, is because it's co-op. Like there's less me versus you sort of situation in some of those co-op games.
Not everybody grows up to being able to handle taking the loss. And
thank you, Party 11, for the follow. Much appreciated. Welcome on in.
Party.
I've seen Party 11 in a couple of our community streams, so welcome on in.
He came from 9 of 8 because this guy loves some Back for Blood.
Oh,
and
I just got that game. Cool.
And you've been putting in the hours, so I understand, which is awesome. How are you liking it?
All right.
Yeah,
it's all right. Maybe we can chat about it in a future topic.
In a future topic.
Oh. I love we both went like this at the same time.
I don't have a beard.
No, you don't.
At least you have a reason.
Your daughter's gonna start doing that, because she's got it on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. It's always. So do you ever like do that and then think of Robin Hood Men in Tights, where he's just like?
No, I didn't even think about that till just now. But that's.
Oh my god! It always comes to mind. I'm just like.
It's funny. I always forget that he, because like I know him, for me, Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And I always forget that he was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Because for me, Robin Hood Men in Tights, it was always Gene Wilder. Because I was a huge Gene Wilder fan. And like, I'm a big comedy fan, stand-up comedy and regular comedy. And he kind of bridged that gap. He didn't do a lot of stand-up. But as comedy goes on the scene, there was just something about Gene Wilder that just always got me. So for me, Gene Wilder always stole that show.
Oh, well, yeah, the whole, such lovely breasts. Yeah. Well, I actually watched it with Bentley at one point, and we're like, oh yeah, we decided that the Maid Marian was her. So she walks into the room and somebody goes, "Lovely breasts." So that's like how we greeted her for a long time. It's lovely breasts.
That's awesome.
But back to the board game things. I think the most obvious thing that would be a turnoff for me, and if we're just talking about like that portion right now, is the overcomplication of rules. It's kind of touching on the point where it's like you're sitting there debating it. It's like, well, look at this rule. Oh, could it be this? And then you have, I have a game called Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
It's a 25-pound box.
Yep.
It has so many pieces. It takes so much to learn it. It's overwhelmingly so. And then you have a million pieces to set up. One single session can take like anywhere between 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And players will often leave it all over the table because it takes so long to set up and they want to be able to just jump back in.
And that's an ongoing story game. So even after you're done with the session, like you start off like everything's permanent. You're putting stickers down and stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it's similar to D&D in that like you can role play it. There's dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl. There's decision making. There's like trying to choose from your character's perspective and how you interact. The turn based. It's a really, really fun game if you have somebody who knows it inside and out, willing to do the setup and do all that stuff, and you're there just to play and have fun. But the amount of work that goes into playing Gloomhaven was the little bit of the turnoff, because it's one, it's expensive. Two, it's like finding the time. You get all the stuff set up and it's like, we're an hour into this already, and then we're going to play this really awesome fun game where it's exciting, and then you lose the dungeon and have to do it in another 5 hours.
Right. Yeah, there's a game similar in that vein. There's a game called Merchants and Marauders. It was a piratey game, and it was a great thought out. And when I first got it, I first played it, and I was like, this is a great game. I love this game. But the more I played it, it's like you spend so much time, but you don't do very much in the game. Like I want to move around more on the sea and the ocean, and I want to get more stuff done before the game is over. But it's like just those games where it takes 4 hours and you do nothing, and just when the game starts to get interesting and fun, that's when the game's over with. And those games I also don't like. I'm not a big fan of. So it's like, get the fun part earlier on so we can enjoy the game. There's a card game called DC Deck Builder. Have you ever played that one?
No,
so it's a build card. It's a deck builder. So everybody plays a superhero from whatever. But you have these decks, and they also have superheroes and gadgets and items, and you get them from the center. Like you earn points, and then you buy them from the center, and you add them to your deck, and then you play your cards, and you fight bad guys and stuff. And it's a really cool game. But I noticed that my deck didn't get cool until like the tail end. You didn't start comboing cards until you like the last round or two when the game was over. It's like I was just getting going.
Yeah.
And so I kind of that kind of was lost on me. And in that vein, I got upset, so I decided to design my own card game. And then I designed it, and it's sitting downstairs, and I haven't touched it since I started doing test runs. Yeah. So maybe one day I'll get back into it. Maybe I'll upload it to Tabletop Simulator.
I think that would be a badass thing to do. I think it's awesome when people can create games like that. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I think for me, the ultimate problem with when it comes to board games or gaming with friends in general is scheduling.
Yeah.
If you it's getting a couple of adults with very different busy lives, planning a day ahead of time, being like, okay guys, what works for you? It's like, this Saturday works for at least 3 of 10 of us. What about this one? Nope. Only if I could switch this around with, and then
right.
That's honestly like, it's tragic sometimes, because it's just like, we just want to be kids and have fun just for a little bit. Come on, let's get this together, even if it's just a few of us. I mean, even the Heroes of Arcadia, getting that scheduled is, it's like, it's not that many people. You'd think that we could find some, but we all have such different lives, and that you got to live, and scheduling is so difficult. I haven't played a board game night with my group of friends that that we're getting together like every week since slightly before COVID. That was the last few times we met up. COVID hit, and we have not gotten back into it. And COVID is not that much of an issue. To be fair, we've all had like kids and stuff, but like the scheduling, I think that's the hard part. But I mean, like, there's a million things you can say that are fun about board games. Just the physical face-to-face aspect of it, you know. I know that you have in your last podcast talking about how there's introverts and extroverts and stuff like that. But there's like, for me, I'm one of those people where I'm a little bit split down the middle. I have a very big introverted side. And people are usually surprised to hear that because of how I am on stream and how I interact. I can I can turn on my extrovert, you know. But there's a certain part of me that gets hungry for that social interaction, really hungry for it. And board games was one of the biggest joys that came into my life at a time where I was just like, I need some social interaction, and I don't feel like I know how to get that in a way that actually feels good to me. Going out to bars with buddies, like, only went so far, you know, but the gaming aspect of it gives you the social face-to-face, but there's teamwork, but there's strategy, but there's an interaction where you're coming together, making jokes around this thing that you're putting your mutual interest in. And it has that nerdy aspect that maybe I didn't get that met in other ways that I was interacting before. And just kind of owning a little bit and honoring who I am as a person and who they are, those similar interests that maybe weren't supported for a long time because it wasn't cool. Like, you know, the perception of it sometimes. It's like, board games, like, what are you, like 12? And it's just like, they're not just for kids. Like, what
especially
are you doing?
now, especially since the onset of, you ever watch it had Will Wheaton was the host, Tabletop.
Yes.
Like, I think that Tabletop really helped show people that board games weren't just, you know, games for kids or just had to be family games. It was run the gamut of different things. So, and that same with role playing. They get to learn role playing on there too, and they get to see it with all these cool people. I mean, really, Will Wheaton is the reason there is a Critical Role, in my opinion. Because he brought, I don't know if you know what Critical Role is, but Critical Role is kind of the same thing where VLDL was doing their role playing stuff. Where it's like, you know, Will Wheaton kind of started that because he had a lot of those guys on Tabletop and they were doing tabletop role playing. And,
that's so cool.
You know, and it just kind of branched out from there. And like, I'm not a big, I hate to say it for those that are watching, but I have a hard time watching other people role play because if I see that, I'm like, I want to play. So for those of you that also stream tabletop role playing, if I'm in your chat, chances are I'm doing it just because I love you.
I'm grinding my teeth a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to play, I want to do this, but at the same time, I got so many games I don't have time to play. So
that's the truth of it.
Is there a kind of board game that you do prefer, like card games, or, you know, a lot of moving pieces, or not a lot of moving pieces, or?
I mean, I don't necessarily care about the setup. I mean, maybe less setup the better. So much as, I mean, for me, it's like, I don't care so long as I don't have to do it because I don't want to. I think the favorite games that I've had are.
Thank you, Ryvan, for resubbing.
I was like, no, I'm not done telling you about the games.
You're not done yet. You've got time.
I have more.
And then we'll get to chat. We'll catch up on chat after the timer's off. That's what we'll do.
Hell yeah. Hi, Ryvan. I like a lot of the social games and ones that are like a little bit of the deduction ones. I don't know if you've heard of Secret Hitler.
I have. I haven't played it, but I've seen it.
Oh my gosh, I highly recommend it if you have a good group of friends that don't mind being called a fascist to their face. It's just stuff where you can bring out this silly and you're trying to suss out, like, we love First Class Trouble. It's like a little bit of an in-person First Class Trouble. Who've done it. There's Sheriff of Nottingham, where you just get to dick over your friends and practice lying to them. There's Monikers, which is a very social game where you have these phases of trying to get your teammates. You have a group of people, and some of them are your teammates, to guess what you're like the word that's on the card or the phrase that's on the card. And you have the one where you get to describe it using as many words as possible. Then you move on to just one word to get them to guess the card. And then you have to charade it with no words whatsoever. And try doing tapeworm in charades.
People start yelling, "You're pregnant, pregnancy, having a baby, overeating."
I yelled, "Anal beads, anal beads." Julie, at what point during this whole night has anal beads been on one of the cards that we've played with? And I was like, oh, good point. I'm sorry.
I mean, you never know.
The stuff that, yeah, you never know. Anything that can bring out the laughter amongst friends. The strategy games are so much fun as well. It's just, I think that the ones that I really come alive are the ones where I'm laughing to the point that I'm holding my stomach and crying. It's for me, it's so much about the social interaction, and well, also just kind of sometimes having that epic savage move, you know.
I've had friends though that also they don't like the games where there's lying involved. We played a game called Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah.
And somebody is a Cylon, and they would get pissed. They're like, but you were the person. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to admit that I'm the person, but I was right. I'm like, you died. They killed you because they killed you because they thought you were the bad guy. But I saw your card. I'm like, yeah, but they don't know you were lying, and they get super angry, and they couldn't play games like that. So they couldn't play games like that, or like probably a First Class Trouble. At least with voice chat. If you're not talking with each other to defend yourself and do that lying thing, that's a different story. I'm in the real world, I'm pretty good at lying. I don't do it anymore. I've learned a very valuable lesson. We can talk about that sometime in the future. And
personal growth.
Huge personal growth.
Yeah.
So I really hate even little white lies. I'd rather just, if I say something, I'm like, I can't tell you. And that's Stephen the Shark says you learn fast, Penny. Talking about the Barcadia game.
I do.
So that's what he said. That's what he says.
Oh,
that's where I'm at in chat, by the way. I scrolled back.
I'm gonna have to join you up here.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. I see it now.
Redneck Jedi says my sister and her boyfriend always get really cool board games. That's kind of cool. Do you get to play them?
It's cool to have the friends that know of like all these things and like they're always on top of having all the games, and then they bring you the games. Those are always great to have in your life.
Yeah, for sure. Teddy Warholm used to play Risk and Axis and Allies like a religion. I also played that. I still will play Risk from time to time. Axis and Allies, there's so many different versions and the rules change so often. I never know which version I'm sitting down to play, so I just kind of like, nah, with that. But the one version for like 5 years in a row we played, one person had their version, and we played theirs a lot, and I really enjoyed that. Lovely breasts.
Lovely breasts.
Chin strokes are the best way to think. Do the beard strokes all the time. Well, Red's got that long.
Yeah.
He's got the long Barbossa beard. I always say he looks like Barbossa, and I will never not say that with his beard and just his facial structure. I always think he's
to braid it right there at the bottom, right?
Right. Because unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
English accent.
More stuff about the Axis and Allies. Lyric says games with hundreds of pieces are too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
Especially if they're different pieces. If it's like I has 100 pieces, but they're all the same piece for tokens or something, I think that's a different story. But
oh gosh, there's a one like something Mars or something, and I really loved playing it, but I just kept thinking, I was like, I have to count all these little tiny pieces for this game. I can't for the Transforming Mars, I think. Terraforming Mars. I
Terraforming
think.
Mars. Yeah, I think that's right. I've never played it, but I think I've
Yeah,
heard of it.
I really enjoyed it. It was just me and one other person playing it, and he knew all the rules and guided it. But it was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of strategy, but there's tiny little pieces that you have to count, and you're just like, oh wait, do I count this? And oh, this is a different color, so it has different amount of currency involved with it. So that gets a little bit like the counting up. Yeah, those ones where you score everything after you're done with the match or something. That's where it gets, sometimes it's just like, this is getting excessive. I'm rolling in the dough, clearly. Let me just say I'm winning.
Right. I win. Me.
Yeah. Look at my treasure.
Speaking of treasure, Lyric says, Dread Pirate is a fun game. It's not too long and has a really cool chest and a map and doubloons, and you get to sail around on a map. I've seen that, and I've always debate. Every time I see a pirate game, I'm like, ooh, do I want to play this?
I feel like Lyric has told me about that game before, actually. It sounds very familiar.
You know what we should do? We should do, because they have a billion board games on Steam. We should just have a Steam board game night where we can play board games on Steam.
Oh my gosh. That would honestly be so much fun.
We can start out with Lords of Waterdeep, because I know you own it.
I wonder how I came to own this game.
Because I think someone got it for you for your birthday like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I haven't played it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I want somebody to teach me how to play it if I'm going to do it. So I'm very, very down if you are willing to get.
All right, you guys all heard it. Go get Lords of Waterdeep on Steam. We'll get a group. I think you can play up to like 6 players. So there we go.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Bentley says we're all available at different times, so it's tough because we all want to play together. That's the same. That's pretty much straight across the board. No matter what you're talking about, whether it's going out to a event or I want to go to a baseball game, or I want to go play board games, or I want to role play, or even go to a movie. It's like nobody's available.
Yeah. Well, and then what happens when like 3 of the 5 people are available, and you don't want the other 2 to feel like discluded? It's like, well, listen. Sometimes you just have to make it work with what you have, and hope that they understand.
Just got to do it.
Yeah, because if you don't, then you don't do anything. Better to do it with 3 of your friends than none.
I think I'm going to start doing, when we start to plan things with people, be like, all right, here's the deal. We're going to plan. Nobody get butt hurt if we take the majority time.
Yeah.
To do it. And we do that with role playing sometimes too. If certain players aren't critical for the adventure, we'll just be like, these are the dates that I have available. I, as the GM, I have these dates available. Well, when we can get the most people together, that's what's going to happen.
That's 100% how it should be. When it comes to D&D or anything role play, the person that's running the show, the GM, DM, whatever you use, their schedule is the most important. All the other players, it's like, hopefully you can make it.
Thank you, Voodoo, for gifting Emmy Kiko a sub. Now Emmy can use the really awesome, cool new dancing. Turn it up. The turn it up dancing emote. Yes, there's an emote for turning it up. There, I said turn it up like 3 times now. So
you should have a counter. Epic has said turn it up 20 times this stream.
There it is. There it is. I love it. Thank you, Mucky McFly, for animating that picture for me. I appreciate it. If Mucky's in here, I don't know. He might be asleep by now, but he said he was going to try and stop in.
Yeah.
Geminis have found to be both sides of the coin. My family tends to play more card games than they do board games.
Bentley's referring, I am the Gemini, so that's what we were talking about, the introvert extrovert.
Yeah.
Side.
Well, then that makes sense for that. That explains a lot. You're a Gemini.
I am a Gemini.
That's like the Two-Face thing. If you didn't know what this was, it wasn't a Cthulhu or a predator. My predator.
You're like, yeah, you're a Gemini. Like naturally, yeah, that's what I look like. Sometimes when you're just trying to express a thought, and then it's like, hands, why?
I have hands, so yay! High five!
I just don't know what to do with them
I don't
sometimes.
know what to do. It's like, have you ever watched Talladega Nights with with Will
Yeah, I
Ferrell.
don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's one of the. I wasn't a huge, going off tangent here. I used to not like Will Ferrell. I couldn't stand his movies. But I love Talladega Nights. I used to always say, like, I didn't like how stupidly over the top he did everything. It was ridiculous. And in that movie, there was only one scene where he did it. And it's like, but he thought he was on fire. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Yeah, you want to be as over the top as possible. At least it's honest.
Right.
There's actually, well, I was always on the edge with his humor in his movies. And it's what made, he did this one movie that was Stranger Than Fiction, I think.
Oh yeah. Where he played a straight down the line normal.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
He rocked it. I loved it so much. I was like, you know what? So much respect, because you stepped out of like your niche, you know?
Yeah.
When you're like a character actor, it's like, oh, I play this role pretty much in every movie that I'm in. You know, there's a lot of actors and actresses that kind of get put in there, but he stepped out of it, and it was like mad respect.
Yeah, I was called out. I wasn't called out, but I taught myself that I was a hypocrite in my reasoning for not liking Will Ferrell, because I was like, it's all over the top, and that's all he ever does. And then somebody I was working with who was a huge Will Ferrell fan, who was younger, he was like a generation younger than me, goes, why don't you like Will Ferrell? And it's like, because it's all over the top. He's like, well, what comedians what's the last real comedian you really liked? I was like, Jim Carrey. And he just looked at me like,
come on.
Really? And I was like, son of a, yep, nope. I admit it. I'm a hypocrite. Holy crap. How can I? Yep, never mind. I take it all back. Then I realized I want to have a Will Ferrell Jim Carrey movie. So let's see. People, identity, epic penny stream. Woohoo. Like so far back. Said I'm done talking. Just working on my raft. Ryvan, when he came in, said he's just working on his raft for a bit. Love you guys, but he wanted to stop it and say hi to us all. Blind GM says carnivorous anal beads.
What?
Yep. And our friend group can't play diplomacy. It would end all friendships. I've never played diplomacy, so that's probably a good thing. Teddy Warhorn says, I love the games where you dick over your friends or cheat to win. My group of friends check my seating area every time we play Munchkin. Yeah, I like, so I don't like actual cheating in Munchkin or any other games like where it's actual cheating, unless that's supposed to be part of the game.
Like it's a mechanic of the game.
Like if that's a mechanic of the game. But yeah, like screw your neighbor games over like Munchkin. Teddy Warhorn, check out a game called Flapjacks and Sasquatches. And Penny, you might like that one because your kids can play it.
My kids don't play with me on games.
Well, it's really simple. Maybe when they get a little bit older. Yeah, Flapjacks and Sasquatches is a really fun card game because they're just really cute pictures. They say like 3 words on them. They're really, really simple. Check it out. And
might be worth looking into. Yeah. I mean, that's the dream, is to play games with my kids, whether it's board games or video games. So.
Right. Red was supposed to get his hair braided during Chaos Con, but he never got around to getting it. It never happened. Oh, next time. During Christmas, he went to go visit his sister. They played a game called Wingspan. It was a lot of fun, all about birds and bird cards. Do you have that one, Penny? It looks like we have that as well. We also have it digitally. We have it digitally on like the computer. We have it digitally on the Switch. The Nintendo Switch has Wingspan.
The hell? I think I lost something. I don't know what it is. Oh, my loot crate. It's still unopened. That's the... Oh, dust. Oh, God. Oh, dust.
There's Wingspan.
You can actually see it on the camera. The dust.
We have. I haven't played it yet, but my wife's played it a bunch. Everybody just loves it. They have a group. They have the phone app too, I think, where they're playing Wingspan on their phone, and then they can take their turns on the phone because it takes some time. So there you go on that. Sometimes character actors can't get roles out of their niche.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's a shame.
And I think that's why a lot of like comedic actors want to I'm just going to focus on serious roles for now. I almost every single like Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey type actor has done that, where they're like, I need to step out and do serious roles. And usually it turns out that they're like better at the serious roles. Guys like a Jamie Foxx or Robin Williams. Dear God, when Robin Williams does a serious role, I get tears.
Prepare to cry, basically. Right. Yeah. Robin Williams did so many different things, and he rocked everything that he ever did. But I think, what was it? What's the hot guy that he played Green Lantern?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. He was one of them. He was typecast hardcore for the longest time, and then he started stepping out of that, and it's just like, good for you, buddy. Like, yeah, you don't just have to have that one thing. It's hard, yeah, but you're right though. It is hard for them to kind of get out of it, because that's how they gained popularity, and that's what made people go to them. It's like, yeah, you did really well with this one, you're going to do great with this one too.
Yeah, I think the people that do impersonations have a much better chance at getting those serious, because they can do those. They get the spectrum. They understand that. Yeah, that difference. We should have had a whole section on movies and comedy and
I know, right?
Are you ready for the next category? Is everyone ready for the next category?
What is it?
What is it? Oh, hey, look at that. We're already kind of talking about it. Discovering role. Penny, how did you discover role playing?
How did I discover role play? I mean,
I don't mean the bedroom stuff. I mean, like D&D. For you, it was D&D. I'm 99% sure.
It was. Well, so it's like, knowing about it is one thing. Experiencing it is a very different thing. I remember it was brought up multiple times when I first started streaming. Even Robert Hartley was coming into my streams, and he's just like, I think that you'd probably do well with D&D, like with the role play aspect of it. I was like, I don't know if I have the time to commit to something like that. That seems like a huge commitment. And I honestly didn't think I'd be any good or enjoy doing it, because I've always felt embarrassed about embarrassing myself, really. Like, I thought that I would do something wrong, or I wouldn't be good, so don't try, type of thing. I had that mentality for a long time. If you're not going to be good at it, just don't try, and you won't make an ass of yourself. Problem solved. And I just remember there was a lot of talk about the desire to learn it, and every time people would get into D&D or see somebody doing D&D, they're like, I come in the middle of the story, I don't really know how people know all these things, like what goes into it. And so it became a discussion of like, what if we had somebody run a D&D 101 for us? And I reached out to Dreaded GM, who is a professional GM, and I said, how would you feel about running something for a couple of small streamers who have never played D&D or have very little experience with D&D, and basically teaching us from scratch and running a one-off for us? And he was all for it. So a couple months later, we do it, and it was me, Evolved Evil, and Aquafire. We all joined him, and even the three of us, we all sat there, and afterwards we're like blown away. It was being put on the spot to make these decisions from a perspective that wasn't our own. Was absolutely mind-blowing. Stepping into somebody else's personality that is so different from your own was like a huge, I don't know, there's something inside me that really connected with it. And it honestly just sparked something that I didn't know was there. So finding role play became like, I honestly came from the desire to help the community in something that they were collectively asking for. And it kind of sparked in a lot of us. From that point, there was, the D&D campaign on stream, and then there was people having one-offs and creating their own private campaigns off stream, and running a lot of educational one-offs here and there. So yeah, that was honestly, it came to the point where it was like everybody was like, yeah, I would love to, but how do you get into something like that? D&D is like for people who played it for the last 15-20 years, from the big chunky books, or those multiple books with the dragons on there, and nobody really knew how to get into it and how to start it. So that was a really cool thing, something that I'm glad I did, because D&D and just role playing in general has really sparked a fire in me and found something that I like doing.
And I came in, so like a large
each other.
a large chunk of your audience came from like the VLDL community and people that watch that. And so every time people are talking, it's like, yeah, I came in from VLDL, and they're like, you know, everybody's talking that, and I didn't like, I knew of VLDL. I've seen some of their clips, but like the name didn't spark a thing in my head. Like I knew of them. I knew of Robert Hartley, just because I had seen him because he does role playing stuff. Yeah. And so I had an idea and I knew, but that wasn't it. And I was looking for other, because I'm like, I'm going to start streaming. I want to find other role players that like streaming or do streaming, or streamers that do role playing. And I was like, but I didn't want to, we talked about this a little bit ago. I didn't want to come into a stream where somebody would, like where they were doing a session, because I didn't want to watch a session. And so I was looking and I was like, oh, here's somebody making a character sheet and it says that they're new. And so that's where I popped into your stream for the first time. I was like, and you know, somebody rated you and you had all these alerts going off and follows and all this stuff. I was like, this is crazy. I love it. This is amazing. This is the kind of thing that these are the kind of people that I want to meet and get to know. And then here we are later. Yeah. But yeah, and I came in and I was like, oh yeah. And I didn't, like I said that very first day that, you know, IGM and whatever, and that I would love to help. And, you know, and I gave my tips when you were making your character, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm just this new guy who just came in. Who the hell am I? You know, I don't want to take over or anything. So I was just chatting just to try and like, just sit back and be part of the chat and not. And then as months progressed, I, you know, came into the Discord and I learned PUBG with you guys. And I was like, I want to role play with you guys and all this. And then I never did. And I apologize for that, because I really wanted to, but I just didn't have time. And but I wanted to. I wanted to help everyone. So like, I know I chatted with Nine on the side. She was asking, she wasn't quite sure, and she wanted to kind of maybe try running something, and was asking questions of like me and Aladus and Mithrax and like, you know, bouncing ideas. And I'm like, I'm always open for talking role playing and helping people out. And I really wanted to run something, but part of me, I didn't know the 5th edition rules super well. And everybody wanted to do 5th edition. Everybody wanted to do D&D straight. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that, because I don't want to bring in something else, because you guys are all just kind of learning 5th edition. And if I bring in a Pathfinder, you guys would go,
yeah.
Or if I bring in Mutants and Masterminds or Deadlands or Star Wars or Star Trek or anything else, it's really hard when you're just getting started learning and discovering role playing. It's really hard to grasp the idea of, wait, what do you mean there's another system? Is it like the world is still D&D? Is it still D&D? Yeah. And so that was kind of my trepidation, because I didn't know that rule setting as well as some of the other people that were in there helping you guys out. So while I may have more, and I'm not saying I do, I'm just saying in a general term, than some people, I have more overall role-playing experience than a ton of people. I might not have more experience with that rule set than someone else. So I didn't want to step on toes. So I just was like, I will help out with the discovering of the role-playing, but I can't, you know, I don't want to step on toes. So, and then you guys did Time of the Wolf, and I was like, great, this is going to be great. And I can watch and I can enjoy. And if people have questions for me on the side, they can do that. And you guys did amazing on that. And that was a lot of fun. And
I feel like with D&D, it's like, it's always welcome, because like, just so long as you're not telling people how to do it.
Right.
Like it's like, but you can offer ideas, and people are, I think, especially with this community, people are always open to hearing the suggestions. It's just like, oh, it's so like, for that could be a play style. Oh, that could be that's a great idea to, you know, incorporate that into my character, or how I play this particular move or something, whether it's strategy or it's role play. But I don't know if I've ever gotten with D&D, unless it was like, hey, this is the rule. Like, I don't think there's ever been anybody who's like very much pushed, like, you should have played it like this, you know, like.
And I think that's, you know, there are people out there that do that. I've been to conventions where they're like, well, why didn't you build your character like this? Because they didn't want to.
Right.
Because
what other answer is there?
So whether or not, I don't know if you know this or not, you will learn this in your journey to discovering. This goes for everyone in chat too. I don't want to say there's two kinds of gamers, but for this example, I'm going to say there's two kinds of gamers. There's the people that go, okay, this is the most maximized way to effectively build a bard to this perfect effect of whatever. You have to take this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and that's the best way to do it, whatever. Or they'll be like, okay, this is what I'm going to take at level 1, character build. All right, this is how I build them at level 1. This is my plan for every single level. And they'll plan every single level, no matter what happens in the game.
To make them the most effective.
To make them the most effective, or to do X, Y, Z that they want to do at level 20. And that's fine. Everybody, if that's what they enjoy doing, that's the thing that people got to learn. If that's what your players enjoy doing, then that's what your players enjoy doing. But yeah, like you said, you can't criticize how another person builds it. Because I don't think about how I'm going to level my character until it's time to level it. And then I reflect on what happened in the last level of experience.
To try and make it make sense.
Yeah, so if I spent the last 2 weeks hanging out with dwarves and I need to pick a new language, I'm not going to take I'm not going to take Gnomish, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to take the one that I've spent the time with. That's the language I'm going to pick. If you know,
and it works into the story that way, and it makes sense to the character and what they've experienced.
Right. If I run across a special organization that I jive with, and I later find out, hey, they've got a prestige class or a special class for that organization, then yeah, I'll take that one instead of another level of bard or whatever for the example.
So the opposite of what you were just saying, there's the people who play it for the mechanical sense, for the I want to create the most effective version of my barbarian and what they're supposed to be able to do at this level, and and this is what's going to happen in these dungeons. And then the other side of that coin is I want to create a story. Yes. And I want to help participate in honoring my character. I want everything to make sense with who I've created in my mind and how I'm going to play him or her.
Yeah, there's a logic to me. There's a logic to the story. Like it needs to make sense, and it needs to fit the character.
I don't think that always comes as organically as the strategic side does. I think that it's so much easier when you're first learning D&D to go for, like, if you're coming from a gaming history, you're gonna go with like, I want to win. I want to be effective.
Yeah,
like, so I did that.
Yeah.
I picked everything that was the most powerful. This would do damage. I never ever picked anything that would benefit the story.
Yeah. And that's fine, because especially when you're starting.
Right. And you don't know, you don't know the benefit of it.
Yeah. And there's also another thing that you see very often with people that are newer. Usually it's not in their first game, because in the first game they're learning the game. So it's like, okay, well, I'll pick the human barbarian or whatever. But then by like their second or third or fourth game where they're making a character, they almost always want to play something like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I want to play can I play a dragon that's a person?
Yeah.
Can I play, can I play a troll? I want to play a troll that's a bard. I keep saying bard, but it's what's in there. I want to play a troll that's a bard, and he uses his own intestines as an instrument or something ridiculous. And you're like, can you just play like a halfling to fit along with the party that's going to hang out in the bar? I don't think a troll is, and you see that a lot. And there's a learning curve. There's a, you need to see the full end. You need to see those ends of the spectrum. I did it.
Yeah.
Starting out, I did the same exact thing. I didn't understand the game. I want to play this comic book character in D&D. That's what I did. Because I didn't know any better. You have to have something, you have to have a lens to see it through.
Yeah. And I think that with when it comes to that transition between the strategic playing and the role playing, really, like, it's like there's obviously they both go together into everything. D&D is both of them, but usually there's one side that gets leaned on heavier with each person. But I feel like I loved the role play, but I didn't build my character for role play.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that it took certain, obviously, time and experience playing, but I feel that DMs are so critical in encouragement when it comes to like people feeling comfortable enough to start going, oh, I'm going to take these role play chances. And then because you start to have so much fun trying things, that it's like, oh my gosh, like there's these abilities that would make so much sense with what I was trying to do. And then you start, these things start to click and you start to want to do that. With my most recent character that I built, it was like one of those characters where I actually chose things intentionally, like I'm like, oh, she has a spy assassin like background, like this is gonna like in her past this would have come in so much handy in the jobs that she's done.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it doesn't do damage, it's strictly for the role play of it.
Yeah.
And you can use those in future moments. And I was sitting there thinking, I've never done this before. I always did stuff. It's like, I want to cause the most damage. I have a glass cannon sorcerer, you know, I want to try and hit as hard as I can. And it's just like, yeah, having things that do damage is really good. You know, obviously that's a big part of it. You want to live, but you also want to have those moments where you guys are creating something that wasn't there before. And sometimes you can have the added benefit of what's in your like resources there.
Yeah.
Not just yourself. So, but having a DM that was in like having, Aldous tried so hard, bless his soul. He's like, oh yeah, think about with this. And he was like trying to guide me with these questions. And I was just like, yeah. I want to hit him harder. You know, like, cool. But like over time, it started to sink in what he was trying to impart on me. And then having the encouragement, having my current DM right now is Namehaver, and he is so excited to be a part of the storytelling. Any ideas that I throw at him, he just comes alive in encouragement. And I think that is, it really helped me. And like, yeah, I really want to try this. I really want to go with this. And I think that that's something that you need. A good DM can make all the difference in people's comfort in stepping into the role play aspect of D&D.
A lot of difficulty that new GMs have, and this has been brought up in our Game Masters Workshop shows quite a bit, is new GMs coming in and thinking it's me versus the players.
Yeah.
And it's not you versus the players. And that goes the other way around. It's not us versus the GM either. Mm-hmm. It's a collaborative storytelling where there are consequences to your decisions and your actions.
Right.
Is what it is.
Ultimately, it's everybody against the dice, right?
Yeah, kind of. That's why people are like, they have dice jails. It's like, you're going to jail. You rolled a nat one. Yep.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I have a lot of dice in the jail.
Can we get is one of my mods in here, can they give a shout out to Namehaver? I always say Haver. I don't know why. It's like, Haven, that's how it reads to me.
Yeah, Namehaven or something, you know?
Yeah, that's how I always read it. And then I always read Namehaver, and then somebody says Namehaver, and I was like, oh, right, I'm wrong.
I mean, sometimes words are hard, really, is what it comes down to. Your mind gets stuck on it, and then that's what comes out. But no, I mean, I think that that's a really good perspective to have. It's never like you're not sitting there trying to defeat your GM. You know, they're doing everything they can.
Kidnapped a beautiful princess named Olive.
Oh, this is actually about Pixel's dog.
Like some weirdo. But Olive, being smart and resourceful, crawled from under the blanket and put a ball to perma-sleep by her irresistible farce. After that, she found some snacks with her namely ding-dongs and some pickles, and successfully escaped. The end.
The end.
That's actually Guillotine Danny that was reading that, another streamer that was playing with Namehaver at the time, but Pixel was in chat, and I believe that Voodoo had written something along that, and then Guillotine Danny just went on this, like, I decided to do a voice and read that whole story out.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I think that role play can be whatever you want it to be. With D&D and in other things. I've somewhat recently discovered the GTA 5 roleplay thing, which is a whole nother world.
Right.
And it's kind of similar to what you're talking about, trying Star Trek, Star Wars, all those other different variations that you can do. It's like, that can be really scary because it's like, in my mind, D&D is that fantasy world, that it's the standard D&D, like what's been written in there so far. I don't know how I would do personally in those
Right.
other ones. So like stepping into doing the GTA 5 role play, I think is a really exciting thing, because it is 100% on equal footing to D&D and role play aspect, you know?
Yeah, you're taking the dice and GM portion out of it, but
Yeah.
it's full of the acting and playing the character.
Exactly. You're you know, embodying, and then you get to actually see, like you're it's not just in your description about what your character's doing, you know, and trying to dialogue your facial expressions. You get to make your character do the things, and you get to voice them, and it's you get to step into another person's life, you know, so long as you remember it's strictly role play, which is the most important thing.
Right.
In any role playing that you do not mix it with real life, because that is the quickest way to lose a table. Like,
right. Well, and there was
Yeah.
always the longest time where it was like, there's a thing called LARPing, which is called live action
Yeah.
role play, where you actually dress up
Yeah.
the character and you actually play all the parts and you actually like do the things.
Holy moly.
And there is a place for it, but you have to realize when you're doing that you have to know ahead of time, going, okay, I need to make sure that I know where to draw the line between what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
A lot of the drawbacks to role playing in the early 80s was people that was doing the live action role playing but was on drugs and made a bad thing for everyone, a bad name for the hobby.
Bad name for role play and
Yeah,
D&D,
'cause
and all the things.
They'd get high and then they'd go in live action role play and then they'd think it was real and then they'd kill their friend with a sword, and it, you know, and it happened, and it's like, you're ruining it for everyone. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that can be said about many different role plays. It's all about, okay, I'll stop. I know the timer went off. I'm sorry.
Timer went off. No, I don't want to claim my free credits. Go away. I don't know why you're doing that. All right, so
I will claim my channel points while you
Right.
not claim your free credits.
Red says Steven has been so wonderful of a GM and real patient with teaching us noobs. Yeah, Steven seems like a really awesome GM. He seems to really, like, I know it's hard for me because I'm like, you know, when you've been doing it for 25, 30 years, you know, you see someone who's been doing it for 10 and you're like, yeah, he's doing really good for a young GM. He's, you know, obviously. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you know, it does seem to be doing really awesome. And their stuff seems to be a lot of fun, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying it, and so that's really awesome. I've heard a lot of good things about the game that Steven has running on the side with a handful of our community members, so nothing but good stuff. Lyric says, I can only think of Knights of Badass when I think of LARPing. Yep, great movie, hilarious. Sean William Scott. Some people don't like Sean William Scott. I love Sean William Scott in certain roles.
Red also said, I never knew anything about D&D until I saw Viva's D&D series and then Time of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Viva did a lot, I think, for D&D.
Yeah.
That was a really awesome. I mean, not that it wasn't already there and there was other like Critical Role and
like
stuff like
Role,
that,
obviously. But that's a different audience, you know.
Yeah.
The people that watch Critical Role were role players, and those people showed their friends who really enjoyed it and got into D&D. And I mean, there's something to be said. You've got a room full of voice actors role playing. That's their job professionally in Critical Role. Their job is to have these amazing voices. They're actors and they're acting. So there's a certain attraction to that, but if you don't see it, you don't know about it. That's, you know, that goes for streaming too. If they don't know it's there, they don't know it's there.
Right.
And I think with Viva La Dirt League, they had this other audience.
Yeah.
Completely separate from role playing, and they said, "Here's role playing," and that audience went, "Ooh, role playing! What is this?
We love everything you do."
Yeah, and so I really do. Yeah, you're 100% right. Like, they did do a lot for it, and I think a lot of, like, they don't get the credit that they deserve for that. You know, obviously Robert has his stream, obviously doesn't get the credit that he deserves. So yeah, go ahead and.
Xylophone.
There's something gone.
The stick that makes it make the noise?
Yeah, it went down the drain.
What drain?
The bathroom drain.
You did not put it down the bathroom drain.
I did.
I need to.
You can go ahead.
play
I'll
Among Us with
catch me when you get
Robert
back.
Again, yeah. So you can piss him right the fuck off, Mucky.
We can get some shout outs for all of our amazing people. If you're still in here, Bentley, you want to give some shout outs to the peoples. While Penny is stepping away, everyone, I did take some of the alerts we have.
Different kind of command.
Have been a couple of them. I've in sound alerts in the sound alerts panel. I've reduced just for Penny Potato, so you will see them. There's also maybe a new one in there. I added a sound alert specifically for our new dancing turn it up emote. I love that.
I'm really curious what this last. Because you said you got
Turn
3.
it up, yeah.
I got several, yeah.
I got 1.
My favorite murder stuff.
And also we have new merch. We've got brand new t-shirts. We have a Turn It Up t-shirt. We've got prints, PRINTS of the Turn It Up image that was done. And we've got
Holy crap. I don't even know what balls I have. That didn't come out right.
It didn't.
Never mind.
It didn't. Thank you, Lyric. But yeah, there's a Turn It Up merchandise for all of you Turn It Up people. And our 2022 tour shirt is now available
And
as
why
well.
she stream? Wait, what?
So you guys
Who
can
is that
get
Holly
that.
and why she's streaming from 9 server?
And the price for the 2021 tour has been dropped to the bare minimum. So if you guys want any of the 2021 podcast tour shirts, they're only going to be available for another month or two, and then I'm taking them down. So it's the limited edition sort of stuff. So that stuff will be off, and then you'll only have the 2022 option for that. So yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. So go ahead and click that. My hat, I had 2 hats that were set up on there, and they took it down today because they said that my logo didn't meet their standards. I'm like, my logo's on all of the other things. I don't know what you're talking about. I own it.
Logo.
So yeah, for my merchandise page, they took down my baseball cap and my beanie hat, and they said that it didn't meet their creator. That wasn't didn't meet their whatever. And I was like, it's on everything else. It's mine. I own it.
Well, did they at least define what they mean by not meeting the standards?
They
It's
didn't
like-
say specifically what it was. It was just an automated bot that pulled it. I've had it happen before, and so you have to fill out a form and challenge their thing and say why you think it was okay, and then they look into it. So hopefully I'll hear back. Last time they got back to me within an hour, so if I don't hear anything by tomorrow, I'll fill out another form on Wednesday and challenge it again until I hear back. But yeah, they don't say specifically what terms or what rule that you didn't follow, and it's like all of the other stuff has it on there. Why didn't that get pulled? Not that I want them to, but
yeah.
I had another one because one of the podcast guests' name was Eric Burnham, and then his last name is a copyrighted name for something, and they're like, it isn't in context with what who owns that thing is. It's not in that context, so they okayed the shirt, but because it's just one name on a list of all of our guests from 2022.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all the stuff that I needed to talk about. When are you? I know we're done with it, but when is your next? Do you know when your next game is with Namehaver? Sorry,
that's actually did it again.
I did it again. I corrected myself at least.
That's true. I mean, hey, I don't think he's ever gonna mind. That's actually something that it was a little bit of a struggle with this particular campaign because we only play once a month for a very short period of time, because it's hard with all of our collective schedules, and we didn't want a high commitment campaign for any of us. So we made a plan to have a session in December, but then last second it got canceled, and we have not communicated since then about January or February. So we don't really know.
Get on that. How are we supposed to promote it?
No.
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Voodoo, for gifting a sub to 9 of 8.
Yay!
Yay! Back to work.
He's like, gotcha. All right.
Gotcha. All right.
I can relax now.
I think we're doing pretty good for time. Was there anything else about discovering role playing you wanted to mention before you were interrupted?
Oh god, my son put something down the drain again, and that's kind of a problem. So it kind of derails my whole thought train. All I know is when it comes to role play, there's a lot to explore that you might not have known about yourself. I mean, just the fact that you can take those chances, and sometimes when you risk being a fool is when you can create the most amazing moments, and it will just encourage you to keep trying, to put yourself out there. And for me, I never really connected the fact that I've always been a big clown of a person where I will bend over backwards to make people laugh, and connecting that with how I can do that by being somebody else too, and creating those situations with what I've with who I am in that moment and who I'm role playing with, and how you can bounce off of each other. Oh yeah, no. But I don't know. I never expected that of myself. And I think that a lot of people feel that way. Like, I mean, there's some people who are just naturally like, I love acting. I'm all about this role play stuff. They go into it. It's like, I know myself, I'm going to rock this. But I feel like there's a larger portion of people who are like, I didn't expect to like the role play aspect of D&D or however they're role playing as much as I did.
Yeah.
And I just went into this with like, oh, I'm just going to say I did this, and I'll just describe how I did it, and then we'll move on to the dungeon crawl. Yes. And we'll go fight some monsters.
Sometimes I want a good dungeon crawl. Sometimes I'm like, I don't have the brains to play. Yeah. Usually I play the face of the group or a face of the group. Like I'm almost always the guy that does the talking. And sometimes it's hard for me not to be, because that's who I am. So like I want to be the person that has brains and can talk to people. That's usually what I want to do. And sometimes when I play the big dumb orc, I really have to lean into the big dumb orc, or it's not going to go well, because I'll get bored.
It's all my fault. So. It's all my fault.
Aww.
Okay, babe. Hey. You want a hug?
Aww. Can we get some hearts in the chat for the little guy? Hearts in the chat. Yeah. Spam the hearts.
No, Penny!
I'm pushing.
Oh, I'm trouble.
You have 20 seconds to comply.
Do you want a gun? Do you want a gun? It's a free gun. You can have my gun. Here. I'll give you all my ammo too. Hang on.
October 8 5.
Thank you guys.
No, don't kill me.
Thank you for understanding.
Look, there. Thanks, Penny, for
That was
making
the
me drop
first
my
time I ever
weapon.
made him drop
I
his
love
gun.
you.
Said.
I still have the, oh my god,
Hey,
the
drop
smallest
it.
gun in the game. The smallest gun in the
You made him
game.
drop his gun.
And I'm stuck
Yeah.
with it.
It was my
Thanks,
first
Penny.
time.
Nice.
He
Potato.
keeps bringing up the
Love
fashion
you.
show. I had to punish him.
Oh, I'm gonna die now.
Second ID.
The fashion
No
show? Yeah, when is
sucking
that?
here. Well,
I will punish you,
it's
Epic.
not a bullet.
In a good way or a bad way?
We're gonna go over
Depends
here
on
and see
mood.
if we can shoot across the map with this big pistol.
Machine gun.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's two people cashed it in? Oh my gosh. That's great.
That was actually me twice.
Oh, really? Nice. I never have enough points to do it to him twice, because I'm always like, I need to save. No, I gotta do it now.
No, have it
I never
done.
have any channel points left in his stream, ever.
I mean, that's the beauty of being the forever lurker like me. I'm like, I always have like so many tabs up. I have 106 for your, not 106, but 106K in your channel. So I'm just like, I'm gonna spam whatever I want one day, and it's just gonna be absolute blast.
Love it. Love it.
one of the things that I just, something completely off topic, but I think that it always deserves being said because I teach my children this all the time. And I've said it on stream to other people and just in conversations. We all make mistakes. The best thing you can possibly do is sub to Epic.
That's right. That's right.
Keep resubbing to Epic. That is the best thing you can do. It'll make up for all your mistakes in life.
Right. Or I will make up for me being gone for 2 weeks for COVID. Thank you, Octavius. Much appreciated. Yeah. Welcome on in, buddy.
When you make a mistake and you realize and you understand that a mistake has been made, you learn from it and you forgive yourself for it, and then you do better the next time. Always remember that, because if you just dwell on it and end up with this cycle of like self-loathing because you've made this mistake in the past or these series of mistakes, and that it's like, if you just keep trying harder, you might still make the mistake in the future, but maybe you didn't do it in the same way. Maybe you didn't do it as often. Like anytime you can make an improvement on a mistake you make, and anytime you can learn something from the experience, that's when you go, okay, I tried, I didn't make it this time, but I'm going to try harder, and I'm going to take this from this experience and try and apply it to the future. Yeah. Just remember to forgive yourselves. I tell it to my children all the time, because sometimes they get stuck in their head like, I'm at fault for everything. I'm the worst. I'm like, no, you're not the worst. I love you. You made a mistake. We're not going to call it anything, but you made a mistake. Let's learn from it and forgive ourselves for it, because I certainly have forgiven you for it.
And that also gives a scope of learning to forgive others as well. In the general scheme of things, and this kind of segues into our next topic a little bit, which is mental health and self-care. And this is a broad spectrum. We could have narrowed it down a little bit more, but it always gives us the opening down the road to do more talk about it. And I'll start real quick with, first and foremost, if you can, get a therapist, a professional that can help. Like that's what they spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars for mental health, for awareness, because I think a lot of part of self-care is learning and growing and understanding yourself as a human being first and foremost, and how you tick inside mentally. Personally, if I hadn't had a therapist, who knows where I would have been. And the growth that I had in the 5 years of going to therapy, ridiculous change as a person, as a human being, how I treated my friends, how I acted, and then subsequently how I felt about myself. And there's a lot of little tactics you can learn for doing things. And that's kind of a broad spectrum. I know there's a lot more detail, but I think that for me was really huge in my self-care, because I didn't know how to do self-care, because I didn't know what I needed to do for self-care, because I didn't know me.
It's a hard thing to know, which seems kind of outrageous, right? It's like, you're you. Of course you know you.
Yeah.
You know what you need. It's like, no, not always. Sometimes it takes people like the middle of their life before they're like, I think I'm getting a sense of who I am through this experience or this X, Y, and Z, whatever it was. And before we get too further into this, as a reminder to everybody, his suggestion for a therapist is the best possible thing. Everything that we say is going to be from our own personal experience, and they're just our opinions. We are not mental health professionals.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
All we can do is share what works for us, right? I think it is one of the biggest journeys of your life, is learning who you are. Some people have since a young age just had a very strong personality and a strong sense of what they wanted and how to go about doing it, and who they are. And I always admire them, because I mean, learning that I'm autistic, and instead of just weird or bad,
right.
learning these things about myself, each and everything that I have learned about myself has given me a better foundation to stand on. I don't feel as unsteady as I did even like 5 years ago.
Right.
You know, I have gone through many years of depression and self-loathing, and I've had a lot of issues with self-worth. I had no value in my eyes. I had no value in other people's eyes as far as I was concerned. I was worthless. And so years and years of that mentality was crippling. And so it I didn't take chances. I didn't do any, like, the person that you guys have met through Twitch, who I am today, does not reflect at all who I was in the past.
Yeah.
Because I have gone through so much to get to this point where I feel like I'm on a foundation where I can take so much more than I have in the past, where everything would just wreck me and I would just be crippled for months, where I would just cry all the time and just sit there and journal like all these feelings out, and it didn't feel good. But knowing yourself is not something that comes naturally to everybody. So the more you can learn about yourself, it allows you to have more tools to handle who you are, and knowing triggers, how to
Yeah.
avoid them, how to handle them,
Or even
if
what they are. Like, I didn't know what a
they
trigger,
are.
I didn't even know what a trigger meant before I started going to therapy. I had no
Right.
idea.
Did you even know what anxiety really was? Like you know it in a general sense, but you didn't know it for yourself, right?
I
What it
know
was
it-
you were feeling was anxiety, but did you know how to identify
So I
it?
know it in a general sense, and still to this day, it's difficult because I never felt a lot of anxiety in my life. I treat things with the, I have to see things from a logical point of view. Okay, I'm having an emotional, like, I'm feeling angry. Why, or I'm sad. I'm really depressed today. Well,
Mhm.
why am I feeling depressed? What is the cause for this? And oftentimes, if it's like, I have no idea, I'm just sad for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious. Okay, why am I anxious? I got a big job interview. Okay, I get that. But
Yeah.
if it's like I'm sitting at home and then I've got nothing for the day and I suddenly am feeling anxious, like, that doesn't I don't get that for me.
Mhm.
So I understand it because I have friends and people that have that, and I understood it because of seeing it through their eyes. And I
Mhm.
think like 2 years ago, I had a moment of that, like one day where I was just like, oh my God, I'm super anxious and I don't understand it. I can't deal with anything. And I was like, oh, is this what anxiety is? And so that's kind of when I got it. It was like within the last year or two that I had
So
that
you
moment.
went your whole life, and that's why when people say like, oh, kids, because they don't know how to identify their feelings, they have so many big emotions, like that's like the hardest time. It's like, no, we're adults when we're first experiencing things. Sometimes it doesn't just
Right.
happen with the youth, like that can be your whole life without going through something or understanding it.
Yeah. And hello, Nobi, welcome on in. I don't know why the sound alert didn't trigger. I saw it pop up, but I didn't hear it.
Hello. Is that is that the correct one? Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
It's from the Labyrinth. Have you ever seen the Labyrinth?
Okay.
There's a little worm at the beginning. It's like, hello. Did you just say hello? Hello? No, I said hello, but hello's good enough.
You know what? I saw it once.
Okay.
I saw it once, and it was a little bit too profound for me. Just like, but I thought it was honestly, I thought it was from Frozen. Like, hello.
Oh, yeah. Nope, it's from the Labyrinth. Everybody has the same like 5 or 6 hello sounds, and I was like, I want something different for my hello. I'm taking something from the Labyrinth, and so it took me forever to find the sound alert, but I found it. So actually, I think I had to upload it myself.
Oh, nice.
But
that's awesome.
You started it. Yeah. So yeah, it's back to the thing. Yeah. So I didn't really understand what anxiety was, but I had other issues, because I suffer from a lot of depression. They used to call it, when I was younger, they used to call it manic depression. Now it's bipolar, which to me, it sounds way more serious now. Bipolar, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got a really big issue, and I almost take offense to it if somebody goes, you're bipolar. It's like,
Labels can be scary.
Yeah.
They can
Yeah,
be
they
a
can.
little bit because of how they're defined and how they're viewed, because just the word autism, one person is going to have an instantaneous definition of what autism is.
Right.
Same thing with bipolar. Somebody hears bipolar and they're going to go to the most extreme definition of what they know bipolar to be. And that's not how you identify with it.
Right. And I know people, I know people that I see them and I've known them their entire life. And I'm like, they are completely autistic. You know, but they're, you know, they're super functional. But I see all these little things. I'm like, that is classic this, and this. And when it gets brought up, you know, recently there was a large falling out with this particular person, just because they became a total toxic a-hat. And I gave them leeway because I knew them and I knew that they had autism, and I assumed that they kind of knew, and I just brought it up in passing. It was like, listen, with all this stuff, I give you leeway because I know that you're on the spectrum of whatever. And he lost his stuff. He just lost it. He took it as the biggest insult he could ever have heard in his life. And it's like, it's not an insult. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being on the spectrum at all. No. It's knowing and understanding and learning, and he's just started calling me names and insulting me, and I was just like, I'm done with you. My oldest friend ever, blocked. So
and I mean, but it's similar to when you were just saying that when people verbally, you know, label you, it's like, well, with bipolar, and then you're just like
yeah, and I know I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, like the sound of it, I'm just like, that just sounds, it's such a strange, like I prefer to say manic depressive over bipolar.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's because I can visualize it. Like I have manic moments and I have depression moments, and I'm pretty light. I think it doesn't happen a lot to me. And I think because I can see it happening, I can cope with it. And I've always had kind of tools to go, okay, I recognize I'm depressed. Is there a reason I'm depressed? Did somebody hurt my feelings? No. Okay, then there's no logical reason for this. Then this is I'm having a depression moment that is not logical, so I can deal with it a lot easier knowing that.
So you go into, you need things to make sense. You need an answer to the question, because without it, you feel like you're floating.
Yeah,
and
I have
that's
no control.
Unacceptable.
It's
you
a
have
control
no control
issue.
Because you have nothing to stand on. You're literally just floating with question marks about how to get down, but there's no answer.
Correct.
That's one of the scariest feelings that people can have, is when they don't have something they can do to answer the question. And it can drive people to do all sorts of different things that are outside of their normal behavior, just trying to find that answer. Well, with you said that you did the therapy, did you feel like you learned the tools that for the manic depression? That was like where you found those tools?
So I had one of the biggest tools that I learned, and I don't know if this goes with self-care. I mean, maybe it does a little bit. One of the many tools that I learned was they have this emotion spectrum. It's like a little wheel, and it's all of these. So it's got a smaller wheel inside, and it's got all these emotions. And then it's got this larger wheel on the outside that has all these other emotions that are triggered to it. And a whole bunch of them, almost half of them, lead to anger. But anger isn't the emotion. So anger is a reaction to another emotion. So you're angry. Why are you angry? Because I was embarrassed. Because I felt like I was hurt. Because I'm hurt. Because, you know, all of these other emotions are, anger is not the starting emotion. Anger is a reaction emotion. Yes. And I realized that I was angry at myself, just in life in general, at things. And I was using that as an outlet. So I was always very sarcastic at all kinds of things. And I had a thing where I was going to school. We're going to go over time on this, and I don't care. I went to school. I bounced like 12 different schools. Actually, it was 17 schools throughout growing up. I was in all these different schools. So every time when you're the new kid, you have to deal with it. You build these coping mechanisms, and you're a kid. You don't even know what that means. So it was lie to make yourself look cool, and make sure that you get them before they get you. So before kids start picking on you, you make an example out of the cool kid. So if it's the cool kid, he's the cool kid and he's the one that's going to pick on people, you make sure to make him look like an idiot first. So you throw him under the bus. And eventually, like, you're in that group of friends, and that's what they all do. It's who can throw the one person under the bus the most often. But the person, you make sure that the person you're throwing under the bus is laughing. You know, as long as they're laughing, it's okay. And, you know, now it's like, that's not okay.
Right.
You know, making fun
and how
of,
solid is that friendship too?
yeah, making fun of somebody, even if they're laughing, doesn't mean it's not funny. If you have to make fun of somebody to be funny, then you're not funny. You have to be able to be funny. And, you know, there are some people, you know, where they're like, no. There are people that are on the side, like, I'm fine with that. It's funny. I'll let you know if you've crossed the
where
line.
my limit.
Yeah, I'll let you know where the limits are. And so there are some people, some friends that I've spoken to, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this. I don't want to whatever XYZ. I talk to them on the side, like, okay, well, I'll let you know. But there are some friends where they're like, they say that, but I look at them and in their eyes, I know that they're just saying that because
they're trying to make it okay. Because for the sake of like comfort for everybody, it's like, that's the people pleaser in them, where it's like, I will allow this to happen despite the fact that there is inside me, it hurts a little bit, or I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing for people to say out loud, to speak their own boundaries.
Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of have to use your own perception and just be like, no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I've had to test those boundaries with myself in the past, because my dynamic is all about laughter and knowing the humor there. There are times where I'm like, I tested it out, I tried it, and it did not go well. I apologize, and I won't do it again. And then you just have to forgive yourself. And then the thing is because if you say, I'm not going to do it again, and you don't do it again, then there's a trust that gets formed there. It's like being able to own your mistakes is really important for your own personal growth, as well as being able to form bonds with others. Because if you say one thing and then you do another, over and over and over again, there is no trust that can be built on that foundation, because it's just crumbled at that point. There is no foundation. And then how are you supposed to trust yourself not to keep making those mistakes at that point? So then it becomes that whole cycle that you were talking about before, where it's like, that was your go-to, like that was how you got by. This is what I'm going to keep doing. What was it that made you therapy? Like you said, you got to a point.
Yeah, when I went in therapy, we were looking at all of these things, and it was like multiple different things, because I get tests and sheets that I fill out, and like little miniature essays and stuff. And as I was writing it, I kept seeing these links, these different little links about things that I was doing, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm seeing these links about, you know, the sarcasm and all of these things, and right next to them are all my negative attributes. Like they were right side by side. And I don't know if that was the purpose of these assignments or the purpose of any of these things, but I saw the connection, because again, it logically made sense. Okay, when I'm, you know, this is my response. It was a response thing. It was a trigger. I learned what a trigger was, and like things would happen and I would trigger a response, and I would realize these. And I was like, wait a second. If I eliminate some of these things that I do, I'm making myself better. And I'm like, okay. And then I was realizing, okay, well, that was a trigger. My sarcasm was a trigger response to anger or, you know, negative emotions. And so as soon as I started realizing the two things coinciding, all of that started to calm down. And then I started to be able to recognize, okay, these are my emotions. These are the core emotions. This is what's triggering them. Triggers were huge. And learning what triggered anger, what triggered depression, what triggered happiness, what triggered bad memories, and identifying those and go, okay, this is what's causing this, and being able to deal with that immediately rather than 5 days later when something that bugged me stewed for 5 days, but I didn't know it was stewing, but it was.
Yeah.
And being able to deal with that right away. And that's helped a lot for my depression and stuff like that. So,
I mean, that's a point right there, is the fact that you do better when you deal with it when it's present. It's happening, I need to deal with this. Whereas some people, myself, I absolutely hate confronting an issue when it's fresh. because my first reaction is hot boiling anger.
Mhm.
And I will go and I feel like I turn into somebody that I don't like. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to address this. I'm going to sit and process and think on it for a couple of days, even if it takes a week or two, because then I can sit there and calmly analyze it and sit and call myself out. I'm like, okay, I'm angry, and these are hurtful words for the sake of lashing out instead of being productive and trying to understand their perspective and helping them understand my perspective as well.
Yeah.
That's just not helpful to the situation. I have to take a step back, because I'm like, I know that my reaction is not a healthy one and it's not conducive to growth. So you have to try and for me, it's like, I have to say, hey, I know that this is like this needs to be discussed, but it cannot be discussed now because it's not going to be healthy, or like we're not going to get anywhere, and there's no hope for us if I just drop my anger bomb on this situation. But one thing that I was curious about with how you made such significant growth and how you decided to handle your friendships yourself, situations that normally you might have chosen to go with the lying or the joking and in those aspects, the sarcasm. Were there people in your life that were obviously there for the before and after Epic?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Did they comment on the noticeable change?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people didn't know I was going to therapy, but like that my in circle definitely did. In fact, part of my therapy, they asked me to go to those friends and have them write what they saw the difference in the last 4 or 5 years and write it out. And I didn't get to read it till we had a group session, because I did a lot of group therapy as well. And I read it out loud to everybody. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how much, even my wife was like, this is the different person that he was. And it was like tears, because I can cope and I can live life a lot better. So I'm an extrovert. We talked about extroverts and introverts before. Nope, shut up
timer.
Shut up timer.
We're not done.
We're not done. TikTok. Octavius is yelling at us. Like I said, we're going to go over, and I don't care because this is an important topic for people. Whatever, you muted me, I quit. Well, keep in mind, Octavius, you had 30 minutes. We only have 20 today. We get an extra 10 minutes. We got overage. What was I talking? What was I saying?
Reading about the changes that your friends and family saw in you.
Yeah, so reading it, and them seeing that. So the introverts and extroverts. I had a really hard time before, like, if we had a plan, like we're gonna. Thank you, Voodoo, for gifting a sub to Zegron. I have a big hard time dealing with, say we make plans, being an extrovert. I was a hard extrovert. We make plans, friends of us, over half my friends are introverts. So it would not be beyond them to be like, we're having game night on Wednesday. We're all going to get together and play game night. It wouldn't be beyond them to be like, I need an introvert night. I can't spend time with people, and they'd all cancel. Me, the extrovert, sitting there going, yeah, but I need people time. And now I don't get that. Like, you can't, I would always say, you can't drag an introvert out of their house, but you can easily cancel on an extrovert. And I couldn't deal with that. I could not cope with being canceled. I couldn't cope if I have too much alone time. It's not good for me. It's usually, bad things would happen. I can't handle myself. I'll go and drink by myself if I'm used to. I used to. Thank God that and I still go to therapy from time to time, but my overall issues I pretty much graduated from right before the pandemic hit. Literally 2-3 weeks, probably 2-3 months before the pandemic hit. What a better time for me to go now. Now there are times where I'm like, I just want to cancel with my friends and sit home by myself.
Can you believe that in yourself? Just
Yeah,
your
and
whole
I
life,
like I can
you know?
go, I know how now have the tools where I can find something to do to feel good about being like if I'm by myself, I have the tools to know I have something I can do and I can feel accomplished and I can feel good about it without spending obviously streaming, and chatting and being in streams and chats and Discord really does fill in that gap. And being able to role play like the introverts, they don't have much of an issue canceling with role plays because they just mute their camera. Obviously, when we're on stream, I'm like, hey, please don't do that unless you're like shoving food in your mouth. But off stream, like they don't feel the need to cancel. They just do that,
Yeah.
So
The glory of it. Yeah.
do you have any specific things you do to take care of yourself when you're having an issue, a day that's an issue? Do you have something you do? Is it, some people will eat, or some people unfortunately will have alcohol, or some people just vibe to music. I like to take long hot showers with music, usually like Clannad is an Irish band that used to play, and sometimes I'll just play Clannad in a hot shower, and I'll just sit in a hot shower I'll sit in the tub while the shower is going, and I'll just listen to the music and let the steam permeate.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Honestly, like I will freely admit, and I know this is not like the healthy thing to do. I know that I eat my feelings.
Yeah.
It's my weight struggle has always been fluctuating because I'll be like, I'll go through that healthy phase where I'm like, I'm putting in the effort, I feel good about myself. And then just like I have this tendency when it rains, it falls. So things will just start to happen all at once and I don't have any relief from it. And all I can do is just try to get by day. And sometimes that means I want to feel some sort of happiness that I'm not able to grab for myself in any other way. I'm going to eat something that makes me feel good. And I'm going to eat it until I'm like done feeling good with that flavor. And I can at least say that I no longer gorge the way I used to. I actually had a big weight problem because my eating to eat my feelings got to be very unhealthy. I would eat to the point of pain.
Did it feel when you did that? I'm just curious because I've never really done that. Do you, when you're done with the eating, do you actually feel better, or do you just think that was good food? Is it just like I enjoy the food and I'm happy during the moment, and then afterwards you're like, I wish I could keep eating?
It really is. I'm like, I'm happy while I'm eating it, and then I'm just like, I'm going to hate myself for that later. And I know it, but it's just like I can't handle dealing with the hating myself right now. So I'll just go ahead and tuck that away.
Okay.
As far as the way that I cope, for the most part, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, sometimes I get socially overwhelmed, I get overstimulated, or there's a lot of different triggers that happen. And I know that some people reach out. Like, I'm hurting, I need to express this, I need people to talk to, I need people to talk to me, I need to be out and doing all the things. The only time I feel the need, if I'm hurting and I feel a social desire, I don't want to address any of my problems. I want to laugh. Laughter is so critical for me.
Okay.
If it's either that, I will go out there and I will find where I can make people laugh, or they can help make me laugh, or there's just laughter in general. Or I go in complete seclusion. I will cut off all communication with everybody. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to receive messages from you. I am hurting and I need to just feel what I feel. And I don't want any interaction. I don't want any extra stimulation. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want any weight on me. And it's funny because everything can feel like weight when I'm that overstimulated and I'm that overwhelmed. Like even somebody saying, hey, I love you, and I'm just checking in, I'm like, that feels like pressure to me right now because I'm not in a place to receive any sort of affection. So like I will tell people, I'm like, I love you, this has nothing to do with you, but I am going radio silent and you're not going to hear from me for a while. Because that's sometimes it's just what I need. And I respect it a lot because I understand that some people, like, that confuses them. It's like, when I'm hurting though, I need this. So I want to give this what I typically need when I'm hurting. I want to give that to you. And and I understand that that's got to be very confusing for people because you typically will go with what you want when you're in that mode to try and help others when they're in that mode. exactly, the different love languages, and that can be really confusing. And so just like for me, I know that sometimes my two important things, laughter, or seclusion and space. So when somebody else is going through something, I'll either fall back to one of those two approaches. I will either try to make them laugh because I feel like laughter is just the key to all things good.
Yeah.
And I'll laugh when I'm nervous, I'll laugh when I'm crying, I'll laugh when I'm angry. It's like laughter is always present in my life in some way, shape, or form.
Mystery.
Welcome on in with the raid, guys. Thank you so much for coming in.
Can.
Hope
You
you're
need
doing
to
well.
talk to your suspect and Shady. She killed me.
You don't have to go in, you just have to stand in the doorway.
We're currently talking about mental health and our ways to cope. So I was curious. Welcome on in, Raiders. How you doing? We're doing Off the Pod, where I have guests. This is a brand new show. This is the second show that we've had. So welcome on in. And I have whatever guests on I want. It not necessarily has to be authors or anything like that. Today we have PennyPootato on, and we're chatting. Last time we had Octavius on, and who knows who we'll have down the road. All kinds of guests, whether I have former podcast guests coming on to promote stuff or a lot of streamers, and we just tackle some subjects. We spend 20 minutes. We've gone over our 20 minutes on this, and we'll start a new one here in a second. But welcome on in, everybody. So yeah, we're talking about the coping mechanisms, and I need to wonder, for people that are on the other half. So Penny is feeling, depressed about something, and she either wants laughter or she wants to step away. Everybody copes differently. So if you're like, if you want to be supportive of somebody else, keep in mind that there are people that they'll want to talk about it, but they might not necessarily want solutions. Some people don't want solutions to their problems. They just want to complain about their problems. And you have to realize that. You have to realize that sometimes they just want to vent. And they will get upset if you try to solve their problems for them.
I'm 100% in that boat. If I do get to the point where I am venting to you, don't offer me solutions. Just listen and go, that sucks. Or just be like, yeah, man, I feel that, like something. So just, you don't necessarily need to give me something to go do, or to fix it. Don't fix me. I don't need to be fixed. I am just feeling right now, and I want to feel. And that is such an important thing for you. I'm so stoked that you said it, honestly, because some people do want to hear the suggestions, but they typically will ask for it. If they want help, they will ask for it. Otherwise, they say, I need to vent. I need to get this off my chest. And that should just be enough.
I took a very long time to learn that, because I'm very much you have a problem here, let me help by fixing the problem. Let me help by telling you what to do. And
I want you to be happy.
Right. And my therapist was very much the same exact way. They're like, oh, well, you need to do this. You need to do that. I'm like, I don't want you to tell me what to do. I just want to tell you my problems, and I need validation that my feelings are correct. Because validation is huge for people. Like, they want to be validated that their feelings are appropriate. And if I feel bad about this, I don't want a solution. I want you to say, yes, that sucks. That's all I want. I want you to say, yes, that sucks, or yes, that's awesome. I don't necessarily need a suggestion, but I'm the person that will be like, have you tried this? Can we fix it by doing this? So if I do that and you just want to vent, say, I don't want and if you're one of those people, say, hey, I don't want a solution. I just want to vent. If they're your friend, they will understand.
Well, there's other ways you can. I've always been a fixer myself too. So when there's a specific people in my life, if they were ever going through something, I would be like, this is what we're gonna do. This is the game plan. This is how we're gonna make you a happier person. But I had to get that under control. And a way of evolving that is, it's like, okay, you want to hear? I'm gonna tell you, yeah, that sucks, and then I'm gonna ask you, do you want me to tell you what could, like some thoughts? Do you want me to share my perspective on this? Like, have you considered this? It's like sometimes you want to get the venting out, and then it takes somebody asking you a question that you never, like, even saying, how do you feel about this? And how did it make you feel when they did this? those sometimes, and it helps you get that out, but it also just talking it out will help you identify your feelings that you didn't understand before. I had these
Right.
big feelings about what just happened and I didn't understand it, but me describing it to you as we're having this, you're asking me these questions, I'm starting to get a clearer picture and how I want to handle it and how I actually felt and why I felt the way I felt.
Right, for sure. Let's check with some of the chat here. Zegron says he's just in time to be here for this. He eats to feel better. Definitely too much, something he's still working on. Yeah, a lot of people have that. A lot of people have that.
Yeah.
I used to drink to feel better. If I was having a crappy day at the end of work, I'd come home and I'd have a drink. In fact, that's during that same time, I was wondering if alcohol was part of my problem. And so I stopped drinking during that period as well.
Yeah.
But also going in we were talking about coping mechanisms. Sometimes I'll come home from work and I'm like, don't talk to me. I need to decompress. And I just go in the backyard and I just go sit in a chair in the backyard, listen to the pond or listen to the birds or whatever. And I just I need to decompress after work. And that's what I do to decompress sometimes. So
yeah.
Voodoo says, problem is there no such thing as stopping for talking about eating food.
Oh yeah. One thing I know that it was meant in jest and stuff, but Bentley saying, am I not funny because I make fun of Octavius? I think there's a big difference between jesting between friends. There's like that lighthearted thing, but then there's that critical humor where you're legitimately making fun of somebody. And I know that you were meaning it in jest, but just to define exactly what there is a separation. Are you cruelly making fun of somebody, not for the sake of making light of a situation, but are you seriously just trying to make people laugh at them?
When I first met Octavius and we started chatting, we chatted on the side and we had a long discussion because there are people that just being around them, you get this aura of they are funny, but also making jokes with them back and forth, them making jokes about you and you making jokes about them. They just their personality just invites that in. And I feel like Octavius is one of those people. And I literally sat down and I had a chat. I was like, where is my limit? Because I don't want to throw you under the bus and I don't want you exactly what we were just talking about earlier with that. He's one of those people where I was like, I need to know because it's fun and you seem to have fun with it. But I don't want you to feel bad. And I don't want you to think I'm serious in any of these things because people can take that hard sometimes, making jokes like that, even if you know them. And so I sat down with him and he was like, listen, I'll let you know, if what you're saying goes too far, I'll let you know. And there have been times where he's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I felt upset about XYZ. It's not your fault, but I just wanted to bring it up so that I can feel better. And I'm like, please let me know. Thank you so much for letting me know. It does matter to me and I need to know. And usually it's not about a joke or something I said. It's usually about something else. I won't get into it because it's a private conversation. But yeah, I think when you know for a fact they're okay with it and they'll say something to you on the side, on the stream or whatnot. So I think in Bentley's case, yes, she is funny.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so
and
good
that
call on
was
bringing that up.
just to create that clear definition. There's making fun of somebody to make yourself look better at their expense. And then there's the dynamic between friends where you know each other well enough, your limits, and you're both creating laughter together. It's one of the things that I appreciate about 9 as much as I do. We're as close as we are that, we'll sit there and I'll be like, God damn it, 9, you did this thing. It's driving me crazy. And she'll just be like, like she gets her troll laugh.
Right.
And just having that with each other where it's like, you can say these things, you can poke fun. We do voices, we do imitations of each other. And some people on the outside sometimes think that we're so catty towards each other. And it's like, no, this is our love language. This is how we make each other laugh. This is our engagement form. And sometimes we actually do have to step aside and give people notice, just so you know, this is all in good humor. We love each other. Yeah. This is all our friendship. We're not being serious in the stuff that we're doing. Okay, resume.
Right. We had the raid again. Thank you, Raiders, for coming in. Thank you, Dilly, for the raid. Much appreciated. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on in. We're going to talk about video game interests here in a bit and what we find. It's more than just that. I just put 3 words because I only had so much room, but our description in the text was a little bit little bit more. Zegron says we go with what we know. As an extrovert married to an introvert, it took a while to learn the best way to help my wife when she needed laughter or solitude. Same thing. I'm the extrovert, my wife's an introvert. I think that's a great pairing in couples, to be honest with you. I think it is, because
opposites attract. It's a thing for a reason.
Yeah. Solution or support is my go-to question for talking to. Do you want a solution or do you want support? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Red says, some days I just love to go on YouTube and listen to music all day while I play a game on my phone, and I just sing and try and channel my feelings into music. Yeah, music is a huge coping mechanism for a lot of people, and a huge way to help yourself. Music is so healing, I think. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I feel like it's funny because with music, for me in particular, I don't think it's as profound for me as it is for some people, as far as like it's healing. But there are times where I'm like, I need to dance this out. I need to sing this out. And I'll be like, sometimes it's not even a negative emotion.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I actually turn to music when I'm feeling good. I feel good. I want to sing. I feel good. I want to dance with my
somebody.
kids. Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm blasting music and my kids, and I'm singing and dancing with them. And that's usually how I express joy, is through music, more so than it needing to pull me out of a funk. Cause I don't think that I don't turn to music for my sadness. I turn to it for my joy, I think. Okay. So that might be just a very different connection and bond with music than some people.
Yeah. Voodoo says, some people are good at untangling your own thoughts, not thinking about some solution instead of you, but just by talking it out with you. Yeah, and I think we were kind of talking about that. Mm-hmm. Red says he pushes Penny into the fire because that's how I show love. Ha ha ha. Under the bus. Arinya Elf, welcome on in. Dad Link and I are the same. He's definitely more extroverted and I'm more introverted. So yeah. Teddy Warhorn, when I'm hit with an episode, I usually throw myself into a hobby, painting miniatures, writing more stuff for my D&D world, or do some writing like poetry. I used to love writing poetry, or short verse or short story type stuff. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's just something about that used to be really awesome for me. And even now, like we were talking about earlier, when I'm dealing with, I have an extroverted thing, but I need time for myself. I need to do something creative sometimes. So I need to do art, or I need to do writing, or I need to do something. I don't know if you, if art has anything to do with anything for you, regardless of whether you're good or not.
I mean, for the longest time, I've always told people I don't have a creative bone in my body. I just didn't know, because the thing is that I defined creativity in the form of like being able to sing, play an instrument, make a physical piece of art. And I didn't feel that I had any of that.
I remember you having this discussion on stream one day, because I came in.
It's hard.
And I was like, look at your stream. Tell me you're not creative. Look at your stream.
And the thing is I didn't realize that my ideas that I was coming up, not just for myself, but for other people, I didn't realize that was my creativity. I didn't realize that my humor is creativity. I didn't realize that incorporating that into the songs that I sing when I'm panicked running away from the killer is creativity. Right. There's a lot of, but creative outlets, when you're hurting or any other form, is sometimes to step away, sometimes to feel good. I feel like those are really critical things to embrace, like just little projects. I've actually encouraged people. They're like, I don't know what to do with myself. I just feel bad. I'm like, is there something that you've always wanted to try? Whether it's a video game you haven't played yet, have you ever, like, do you want to get back to making pictures, drawing with your pencil, like colored pencils, or coal, or what is it, the smudgy, I forget.
Charcoal.
Yeah, charcoal. Yeah. Like, why don't you give yourself time to dive into a passion or an interest, and just kind of let yourself be.
Yeah.
And I feel like I hear that all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I turn to my music. Oh yeah, I turn to my art. I turn to this game that I've always loved. Whatever it is, I feel like those are so those are so healing to have projects. When you have nothing, when you have idle hands, and sometimes you're left alone with your thoughts, that can be really difficult to process, especially if you're one of those people who don't particularly like themselves. So when you're left alone with your own thoughts and your own, just who you are, and you don't like what you see, it can be really difficult. You have to get to that point where you can kind of have both, like you've just talked about earlier, where you get to the point where you can be comfortable in your own skin with your own time, but at the same time know where to go to put that energy.
Yeah. Red said something very telling, and I pinned it just because it's such a great thing to say. Art should be about expressing yourself, not about being good.
Yeah.
End of subject. Are you guys ready? 100%. Are you ready, Penny?
Yes, I'm all for it.
Let me pull up exactly how I wrote it, because it matters in the
It's
thing.
right here. What makes us want to get a video game to play on and off stream?
Yeah, so like when you're looking at games, because you do this a lot on your stream where you're looking at games, what is it that where you see a game and you're just like, I got to get this game? Like, what is it about those games that you're like, I got to get this, whether it's I got to get this for stream, or I got to get this just for me, which sometimes, they're the same.
I've said it a million times, like the creators of games do themselves no favor when they don't create a good trailer. And then there's some people who make such a good trailer, but it doesn't reflect the game. And that infuriates me.
Yeah. Something
fierce, because there's been times I'm watching a game trailer on the stream, and Chad, who has actually played the game, they're sitting in there going, yeah, this is all just cinematic stuff. This has nothing to do with gameplay. This is not like, this is a little bit of the story, but it's like, you're not actually getting a feel for what the game is. Right. And that actually makes me very annoyed. But having a good trailer.
I didn't.
What are you doing, Aiden? What are you doing?
Pretty sure that will get you banned.
You took this clip?
90% sure.
I mean, it just gives me more free time.
Welcome on in, Raiders. Thank you for the raid, Aiden. Welcome on in, everybody. We're spending every 20 minutes talking about a new subject in Off the Pod. I am joined by streamer PennyPootato, who many of you probably know. So welcome on in. We're currently talking about video game interest, what gets us into games, what gets us to buy games, what we like about games, stuff like that. So welcome on in, everybody.
Not my birthday.
Not your birthday.
But thank you, Sam. Love you.
Oh gosh. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Caps locks. You're given 20 caps locks. You got 20 letters to caps locks. Why so many? If somebody gives that person a sub, then they can spam all they want. Subs can spam whatever they want. Sorry about that. Damn you, Nightbot.
I know.
I've slowly increased it. I was like, people shouldn't need more than 5. And I was like, no, people shouldn't need more than 10. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it at 20. Beyond that is on them. Welcome on in, everybody. Sorry about that. Sorry. I can't hype up Penny.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome on in. Got to do it in these dinky lowercase letters. Ugh. Just do it in 2 posts.
Yeah.
There
you go.
So yeah, we're talking about video games and trailers. Trailers doing them justice was what Penny was saying, and sometimes they do or don't. What is it in the trailer that you're looking for when you see it?
I think the most important things that you need to see is you need to see a little bit, like if there's a story in the game, you need to get a feel for what like you don't need any giveaways, but you do need to get a feel for what you're working towards. The story has to give you some sort of overarching mission and feel of the vibe of the game and the mood. Is there urgency? Put urgency in there. You also need gameplay. I myself like Final Fantasy, and I know it's a beloved franchise,
right?
But I do not enjoy that style of gameplay.
Okay.
And so I want to see that. in the trailer, so I don't feel tricked, because I get like this sense of what it's like. Ooh, this looks like a cool action game. I'm gonna go through and slice people up with my sword. I don't want like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm going to slice you when it comes to my turn. Like, just, you know, like it drives me crazy. Having to wait. I'm impatient. I want to see what the gameplay is going to look like, and I want to see lots of it. Maybe if you have humor in there, you're going to get me so much with humor. If the trailer makes me laugh, I'm like, ooh, you have my full attention.
Okay.
I like funny. And I think a lot of people like to laugh, or you know, some people, if you're looking for horror, you want to be scared in the trailer. If you're looking for adventure, you want to feel that excitement. You want to see the cinematic almost feel to it, to that world, like where Elden Ring does it really well. Skyrim does it well. Create that whole world of adventure and like fantasy. You have to reflect what your game is accurately and well. Phasmophobia was one of those, when they first came out, it was obviously like one person making it, right? So they didn't really have everything they needed.
Yeah.
I had zero interest in Phasmophobia. People were talking about it left and right, and I watched the trailer a couple of times. I was like, it does not look fun. I don't get why people are playing this. It was just a piece of the game where they're walking around the room. There was no scare to it. There was no like explaining what was happening. Like it was just a part of the game, and it was very quiet. So, but they eventually made the trailer like reflect what the game is, and I was like, there you go. Now people are gonna, you know, other than seeing other people play it. And that's a whole nother avenue other than the trailer. Is Twitch is great for that. If you're curious about a game, but you're hesitant to spend the money, go look it up on Twitch and watch a streamer play it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For me, I have a couple little things that will almost always get me. If I can create my own character, generally, if they got a good create your own character, I don't freaking care. I hate sports. I hate golf. The game golf. I can't. I hate the game. I won't play it.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned if one of my friends didn't get the Tiger Woods golf game, and I was like, but I hate golf, and I had nothing else to do, so I went to their house. This was years ago, and they had to create your own character, and I was like, ooh.
You love character creation.
I love creating your own character. Like, to me, that is something that is really, really huge. And games where you can play with other people. Co-op type games. I love those things, like Minecraft, Valheim, obviously PUBG. It has some of that aspect. I wasn't a big fan of shooters most of my life until a friend of mine I moved in with had a game called SOCOM. We talked about this when we met, and we for the first time, and we're talking about PUBG, and that was really the only shooter that I ever played. And then I played some others, and I kind of got into some of them. And so that's, so I'm very picky when it comes to my shooters about what it is. So it's like, I want a little bit more community from things. But so yeah, PUBG was more of I want to play a shooter game, and you guys all play it. So I'm going to play it. And so I love it. That's why I play it.
So that there's the social aspect of it, finding games through your friends.
Right.
How often is it, though, that a friend that just because you have this game in common with them and that you both really like, but then they have interests that are so different from your own, when they make a suggestion, is it still going to be like, oh, well, we like this one, so if you're recommending this one, then I'm going to be interested in it too? There's some times where it's just like, I know you like it. There's so much with 9 on that one. I'm like, this looks like a game for you, honey, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll make
your recommendations,
I tell people straight up, I am a game snob. Like, I'm really picky on what games I want to pick to play, which is why sometimes you'll see me, like when I'm streaming, I'll go back to old games that I quit playing. I'll go back and I'll play them, because it's like there's not a new game out that I'm interested in. Luckily, this community is so awesome. They have such a wide variety. I get to see so many games that I'm like, oh, that's a cool one. And there's so many games, you know, like you'll do a community day, either it's in Discord or your stream. Bentley and Octavius do their community night. You know, people will do these games with people. So I get to see them. Like you said, you get to see them on stream beforehand to see whether you're interested in or not. So but usually if somebody's like, I have this thing, whether it's books, movies, or games, if somebody goes, you need to play this game, the first thing my brain does is go, well, that's on the bottom of my list now. I will never play that game. I've gotten a lot better over the years because I recognize that I do that. But yeah, it's definitely a, if people suggest it, they can suggest it all they want, but I still reserve the right to say, yeah, I'm not interested. And I will tell that to people. But on the flip side, if somebody else isn't interested, I'll still keep trying to convince them to play a game until they tell me to shut the hell up.
But look how fun it is. It has this thing, and look what I can do. Look what I can do. And
hear that, everybody that I keep trying to tell to come back to Fallout 76 with me? I'm sorry.
Okay, I have a question that's somewhat on that topic.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a game with a group and you because of how it went with that group and that experience, you loved it, and then you brought it over and you think you love this game, but then you played it with another group and the game just wasn't, it was actually the group of friends, not the game, you know? Have you ever had that experience where you're like, oh, I feel like Friday the 13th can be something along those lines where it all depends on who you're playing with for the game to be any fun.
Yeah, I think so. I, off the top of my head, I know there was one for like the old PlayStation where, and I don't remember what the game was, but with a certain group of friends, it was a lot of fun, but with a different group of friends, it was not. Or, I'm pretty sure that there have been games where I played them and I didn't, it's the opposite, where I played it with a certain group of friends and I didn't like it. And then I was convinced to try it again later. And I was like, oh, this was a lot of fun. So I think that has definitely happened. And I know I've lost my love for games. Dead by Daylight, you know, I played it on PlayStation for years, long before I met you all. And I played it and I was like, this is fun. But eventually I was like, you know, I just, you know, I played with like two people. If they were available, maybe we played. So I spent a lot of time playing by myself. And then I just kind of was like, I'm done. And then met all of you guys and people were playing in Discord and like you hated the game at the time. You're like, I'm not playing that game. And a couple other people like, well, I like the game. And I was like, well, I'll play with you guys if you guys want to play. I just would like people to play with. I'll give it another shot. And then I gave it another shot and then I loved it. And then all of us grabbed onto Penny and dragged you in.
this whole wave of like DVD just like struck us like a tidal wave, man. But then it became this whole like community obsession. Like this is all we wanted to play, like on or off stream, like whether we were in each other's communities or so, like it didn't matter, like our own. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I love
why. We were hounding you to come play with us, and finally you got the game. And probably 2 weeks after you got the game, I was like, I'm done playing.
I know.
And then I came back, and then you were done playing. It's like, no.
Well, to be fair, it was like the anniversary of it, and I was like, I have to get my like holiday anniversary events worth out of this and get as much, you know, before it ends, and then I don't get all these extras. And I just played so much. Like anything that you do in excess is just gonna like fizzle out for you. So I mean, I'm not necessarily done with the game. I still play it. I just know better than to go hard at it like I used to. I think that's like a big. I mean, every game I've ever played. Yeah.
Games come in stages. It's like PUBG.
Oh yeah. I took a break from it. Love it. I never stopped loving the game. I just took a break from it. But I feel like that's why I'm careful with First Class Trouble, because our community loves First Class Trouble. I love First Class Trouble. Getting together when it happens is actual magic. It is to the point where everybody is laughing till snot and tears are coming out their face. But with experience, you know, like you can only play this, like we'll play this for a couple hours, and then we'll probably stay away from it for a couple weeks or months.
Yeah.
because then you start to play it and it's just like everything else. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, know, all the jokes are all the same. It's like one thing. Oh, okay. It's starting to become very repetitive. And then you don't want burnout from this game because exactly. But if you give it some breaks in between, it can maintain that magic and keep going back to it. So that's like, I actually somewhat intentionally do that. A lot of it is scheduling, difficult. Getting people together for it, difficult. But another part is it's like, I had so much fun, but I'm comfortable with saying that was fun, but now it's done and walking away.
Did you ever do MMOs? You know, like Warcraft or EverQuest or anything like that? And what is your thoughts on that? Because like I played EverQuest for years and years and years, and then I played Warcraft, and like I feel like every time other than EverQuest, like every time I came in just a little too late. So I came into my World of Warcraft, and it was like 2 expansions. It's like, and yes, I could catch up, but it didn't feel like that game. And I'm always like, I want to get in on the next big MMORPG, but I'm always like a year behind, and Neverwinter was like that. And I'd catch up, and then I'm like, all right, I'm here, but I'm still like, I haven't been here since the beginning. I don't have the nostalgia. I don't get to discover new things with the best, you know, people out there discovering them for the first time.
But isn't there that exact trade-off? You want to be there from the beginning, but you also want to be able to know what you're getting into. Like, do I know if I'm going to like this? The only way I know is if I just wait and watch and look and learn. But then you lose out on that feeling of being a part of it from the beginning. But hey, what about I mean, I don't know if this doesn't really apply, but Dark and Darker, you were there from the beginning. And now we're gonna see this one through.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna be awesome. It's February 26th or 28th. No, January.
Are you sure it's not?
January.
No, it's in February. It's February like 6th to the 13th or something. I have the exact dates somewhere.
Yeah, I have it. I'm in their Discord, and I have them set up as announcements, and we're there. We're there.
Help me find their Discord. I couldn't find it.
I'll send you an invite to the Discord. Remind me afterwards off the thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there are these MMOs, and I'm always looking for the next big MMO, and I'm always either they die, or I don't get into them on time, or they just suck. Like Matrix was going to be awesome, and then the game just sucked. Matrix Online, Star Trek Online. It's like, man.
I feel the thing that MMOs, I think they have their place and they have their audience. They have that community of people that really get into it. And I will full on admit that I was very much addicted to World of Warcraft when my boyfriend at the time got me on it. And it was, but the thing is, as I started to realize it's like game drugs.
It is,
but not.
Yep.
It's like it's like crack. It's like I just spent 8 hours doing raids with friends or just grinding up my at the time paladin or druid or priest, or I had like so many of them that I just like, I have to get you all to the max level.
Right.
And I'm just like, what did I get out of this? I wasn't into it for the story and all the, like, there is a lot to offer in World of Warcraft as far as the story goes. If you're paying attention, the lore of it, there's a lot of content there. But as far as gameplay goes, and the fact that you're paying monthly for it to be able to play, and then all the other extra costs and time and all that stuff, I was just like, this feels like a bad kind of, like, this feels like a bad addiction.
Right.
And I stepped away from it, and I was like, anything where I'm paying to play this much, like this is, and it can be this repetitive. That's when I was just like, I don't think I want to get into that. And if I do get into something that is that level of repetition, I was like, doses.
Yeah.
Small doses, and being able to step away and not feel like, just 5 more hours, you know, like I'm gonna.
We used to call EverQuest Evercrack. That was our nickname for EverQuest, was Evercrack, because it was just
accurately so.
We'd get done with work, we'd play all day, we'd sleep for 2 hours, we'd get up, we'd go to work, we'd get done with work, we'd play all night long until it's like, oh crap, I got to be at work in 2 hours.
Yeah, and my body does not feel good.
Yeah,
everything else in my life is suffering because of this game.
I'm not 21 anymore.
Exactly. There has to be a point where it's like, I'm an adult, kind of. Yeah. So there's those type of things. I feel like there's a lot that can sell you about a game, and there's a lot that can work against it. But it all comes down to what's your flavor, you know. I never thought I'd be into some of the stuff that I'm into.
I definitely do like stories. You mentioned that earlier on when they play the trailer. And it's
Mhm.
like I want a good story, but I don't want it to be hand fed to me, but I also don't want it to be super vague. So like Elden Ring looked gorgeous. It looked amazing. Everybody warned me that it's a Souls game and it's impossible. It wasn't impossible. I didn't find it super terrifyingly difficult, no more difficult than like a Mario game. But at the same time, there was no story. Welcome on in, Scarblade. Yeah, there was nobody to talk to. There was like a little merchants, but it was like everybody. You're in this open, vast world with towns and stuff, but everybody wants to kill you. There's no story. There's not really interaction. There's like this little separate world where they had maybe their quests. But I just felt like I'm not doing anything. I'm just running around killing things, and there's not a story. I didn't feel pulled in story-wise to Elden Ring.
So
And
then
that's what got
one
me
of those
bored.
games. That's one of those games where the trailer didn't really give the correct, the accurate description or feel of the game. So
Go ahead,
It
finish your
failed.
sentence, and then we'll get to the chat. We'll get to the chat here in a second. I know there's a couple of people that have their comments. I saw one really good one too.
I feel like that's one of those games where, because I actually didn't know that until you just said that now. I was like, I thought that with Elden Ring, and based on the trailer that I saw for it, I was like, this feels like it's going to have a really epic story and really very unique looking monsters.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like the next
fighting.
Skyrim, really.
Yeah,
And it wasn't.
It has
Not at
that
all.
vibe. That's surprising.
It was a
and
beautiful.
kind
It was one of the
disappointing.
most beautiful games I've ever played. Like the scenery and moving around was a lot of fun. I liked the combat. Again, it was a Souls game. I've never played a Souls game. That was my first Souls game. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's super difficult." And I'm like, "Fight the boss." It took me like 10 tries, but I fought the main boss, and whatever.
Hey, Epic, why don't you play Dark Souls?
Does it have a story to it? Like
don't
Elden Ring really
know.
turned me off. Elden Ring really turned me off to trying any of the
Souls-like
Souls
games.
games.
Yeah.
Because it's like, And some
Yeah.
people said that it was harder than the Dark Souls, and I was like, I don't know. I don't have a scope. I don't have a comparison. I never played them.
Right.
Like, but it's a Souls. Like when they said it's a Souls game, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, no, it's not. It's a completely different universe. It's not in the Dark Souls universe.
I think that it's just like level of difficulty and
Yeah.
rage-inducing type of combat is what they're trying to just say in that tag or description. I'd be curious to see your thoughts on it, but I can't answer it because I don't know about Dark Souls if there's a story to it or not. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see how, if you could say like, okay, I can see now why they're saying Souls-like in these game descriptions based on this.
Samansuke said, Diablo 4 trailer.
They're talking about the Diablo 4 trailer looking like it's going to make a really good game because it sells it well.
I won't play it. I'll pass. Hard pass. I played the first Diablo and I hated it because it was the faster you push the button is the faster your attacks go, and that was all the game was like.
I mean, isn't that also World of Warcraft too? When you're going through raids and you're spamming your heals or you're spamming your
Yeah. No, we're changing it, Octavius. We're changing the setup. We're reading the chat after the timer goes off. We're reading the chat. That's I changed the thing.
Are there no The salt is so real.
The salt is so real. 9 wants to see combat in the trailers too, wants to see how the combat works. Samansuke, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I spend an hour and 45 minutes on Monster Hunter's new game's character creation. Ooh.
Character creation can be honestly the most fun experience. You can spend significant time on it, and if you care enough, you should absolutely spend the time on it.
PUBG needs to make a trailer with Penny kill montage. I'd install the spot instantly.
I feel like it's just me screaming a lot.
9 says, but also the world and setting can be a seller for me. Epic fantasy like Skyrim or a deep sci-fi like Mass Effect, or based off something like the new Harry Potter. I can't wait for the new Harry Potter game. I'm really excited for that. That hits all. I don't want to support what's her face, but I want to play the Harry Potter game. I really. I also Epic fantasy is a seller for me. Dragon Age, Skyrim, Final Fantasy. Maybe not so
Yeah.
much Final Fantasy. Those are a little bit. I played a few of them, but the turn-based
Do you
stuff.
feel that conflict though, just like you said with the J.K. Rowling thing, and then there's also Diablo 4 coming out, and knowing what Blizzard, the company behind that game, is all about and what we've learned about them, like that makes it so confusing to love what we love, you know,
Right.
like
For sure.
and want to continue supporting, you know, in that sense.
Well, I don't even think I support any. I don't think there's any Blizzard games that I play anymore. I played there. Was it? God, was it the DC Universe? Maybe it was DC Universe. No, that wasn't a Blizzard. Or something. I don't know. Yeah, DC Universe was Daybreak games. Yeah, I don't think I support any Blizzard games at this point.
Yeah.
Redneck Jedi, Dead by Daylight. I don't think I'd ever gotten into those games if I didn't see you all playing it. Probably at first, mostly got it because it was one of the few games I could cross-play with you all. Yeah, and cross-play is huge these days for me. If it's cross-play, whether it's, especially for on-stream, because if it's a game where it's cross-play, like then we can play it in Discord, we can play it on stream, we can play it with multiple people. I can, like, especially because I have a PlayStation and I have some games for the PlayStation, and Fall Guys was really nice because I had it on a PlayStation, I could play it, and I found out later if I log in on the computer, I could play Fall Guys on my computer, and it's the same account, and I get to keep all my stuff. If I could transfer all my stuff from my PlayStation Dead by Daylight to my computer, it would be awesome.
I'm gonna mute for a second.
Yes. I'll continue reading chat while Penny does that. 9 literally thinks of Dark and Darker every day. Yeah, I think about it quite a bit. I'll wait to read Arina's Elf till Penny gets back.
I'm back.
Arina Elf asks if either of us have tried DDO, which is Dungeons and Dragons Online. It's an older but still good. Oh, so good. She streams it pretty much exclusively. I haven't. I don't think I played it. If I did, I played it very minutely. I was more on Neverwinter MMO player, which is also set in D&D. So I haven't played D&D DDO that I can remember. I don't know, Penny, did you ever play DDO?
I still consider myself very green where D&D comes in, so I've really only had the 5e.
Okay. Well, D&D DDO is basically World of Warcraft but Dungeons and Dragons. So it's World of Warcraft, but the mechanics of it are set to the D&D kind of mechanics.
Yeah.
So your stats and stuff are just like a character, but it's World of Warcraft. It's a little bit more realistic and not quite as cartoony, and it's set in the world of D&D. I think it's in Eberron, if I'm not mistaken. Arina Elf can probably clarify that, but I'm pretty sure it's in the world of Eberron, whereas Neverwinter Nights is in Forgotten Realms, around the city of Neverwinter.
Oh no, I feel so bad. Teddy's saying, sounds like we all need to get into EverQuest and make an Epic Realms Guild. And then I was just saying, I don't like to play those games. But if there's other games where we could get into the Epic Realms Guild, I'm all for it.
You know,
I'm all for it.
I have multiple characters in EverQuest. 2 of them I think I actually have guilds that are probably still active. I don't know if I don't think I could get back into EverQuest full-heartedly. I think I'd be too heartbroken to get back in and go, I put this much effort in, and now instead of there being 20 expansions, there's 40, and I'm that far behind. I just I was on my server, I was in the top 5 paladins on the guild. I had the highest armor class in our entire server. Like I was at the pinnacle of the thing. And now to go in there and probably walk in and go, yeah, you're just a noob. That's how I would feel. I'd be like, I couldn't go back. I just couldn't.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't, it's better not to try and recreate the magic.
Yeah,
it's like, it was magic then, and that's fine.
Yeah. Look back on it and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
9 felt the same way about Elden Ring as I did. No story. Yeah. Scarblade didn't play it for that reason. Teddy says there's a story, you just not in your face. No, you have to get through the veil and magnifying glass and you might see a fragment of a story. And there is a story. You're like a trying to take over this realm and put all these things together. There is a story,
Mhm.
but it's really veiled. I don't
But
like
you
it.
need more in
I
a
want
game
more.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like you need those cutscenes at the very least, where you're having
Yeah.
at least like a decision making and going into.
Yeah,
it's
give me
not
some
just the
quests and some
combat.
stories and
Right.
some character interaction, NPC interaction.
Right.
Um,
We bang, okay.
Teddy says Dark Souls storytelling is exactly the same as Elden Ring. So, a lot of salt,
That's how you skip over his comments. It's just a lot of salt, aka Octavia.
Well, we already read that. We already read that there are no rules. Like, we already read that. So, I mean, he does. I mean, besides, he's the one complaining about us reading the chat. So, I mean,
I know.
Very apropos.
I just love that a lot of salt is just AKA for
Octavius. Yeah. Game.exe was the best game ever. Diablo 3 is one of my all-time favorite games. I think I've hit some nerves when I said I don't like Diablo. Sorry, guys.
It's a to each their own thing. I also enjoyed Diablo 3 a lot, and I wish I could play Diablo 4. I think it would be a lot of fun. But then there's also that thought of, am I going to just try and recreate the magic of playing it?
I was watching Octavius play Diablo 3, and I found myself really intrigued and going, man, this looks really good. And I'm like, no, damn it, no, it's a Diablo game. I'm not going to get into it. Damn it, Octavius.
Sometimes it's all it takes is just seeing it through another perspective than the first time you saw it. And maybe you'll find yourself pulled into Diablo 4.
And here's the thing. The reason I hated Diablo is also the same. I loved, there's an old game for the original Nintendo called, what the hell was it called? Gauntlet. And it was whatever you hit the button as fast as you can to make the attack. And that's what DDO was. Or that's what Diablo was.
I'm gonna be playing Gauntlet, just so you know.
Oh yeah,
There's
the old original one, or the new one?
the new one.
I saw you play
have
the
on
trailer.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I was doing a game giveaway, and I was just like, you know what? I remember playing this on my GameCube with my dad, and so I have all those feels of like, this is one of the probably I could count on my hand how many games my dad would play with me, and Gauntlet was one of them. So I'm like, I'm gonna play it for that reason specifically, but I'm excited about playing Gauntlet.
Who says that's okay, Epic? We all can be wrong sometimes. Thanks. And Teddy says, I mean, I get it. Elden Ring storytelling isn't for you. It's for a very specific audience. Yeah, and that's totally true. Yeah. Like I said, it was a gorgeous game, and I still, when I look back on it, the little bit that I did play, I look fondly on what I played. I just got really bored really quick. Because it was the same thing. Like, it was just the same combat over and over again. Combat. End of story. I feel so bad. Play the story with me. You will love it. 9 says, well, I felt if a game is going to be that challenging to progress, something else should be going for it. With Elden Ring, it was just difficult and beautiful graphics, but a story would help, or it could be like Hollow Knight. That game is difficult, but still fun for me because I love exploring the world. Yeah. And I loved exploring the world as well, except for when I got to a place where it was like, you're not supposed to be in this area. It's like, oh, well, I've explored everyone else and I'm not high enough level for here. Do I just go back and explore the same place I've been?
Yeah, and grind, you know?
And grind, yeah. Diablo isn't like that. Some skills have cooldowns. Yeah, obviously Diablo's changed. Like I said, I saw Octavius play, and Diablo's changed since its first iteration.
Yeah, I actually really liked. I enjoyed. So I didn't play Diablo 1 or 2.
Okay.
But with my ex, he's the one that got me into computer games originally, years and years and years ago. That was one of the ones that we played together. And I actually enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed the gameplay, despite, being turned off by like gruesome stuff and sadness. But like it actually, if you are looking for a story as well as gameplay, that Diablo 3 was actually quite enjoyable on both fronts.
Yeah. And, we're talking about storyline and stuff. We also talked about how much we are really excited for Dark and Darker.
I have no story, but oh my God. It's so
I have no story whatsoever.
But it's a lot of social interaction. So you have that aspect.
Yeah, it's a little bit different of a game. But
Yeah.
and
I'm excited to see what they do with
I also
it, the
really
changes.
like open world games. We couldn't have this conversation if I didn't mention, and I know Redneck Jedi will totally agree with me, but the Red Dead Redemption games are a core to my being. There's just something about them that call to me and always has. I played so most people don't realize that Red Dead Redemption is not the first of this series. There are 3. The first one was Red Dead Revolver, which takes place before the other ones, and it was so Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Revolver was what they wanted to do for Grand Theft Auto. So they had this idea for an open world sort of thing, and they wanted to do it for Red Dead Revolver, but they didn't have the technology for it. So they did the best they could to tell this story, but they ultimately wanted it to be this open world thing. And so they made Red Dead Revolver, which was a lot of fun. And I played the hell out of that game with friends, and I played through it probably 6 times. Then they came out with Grand Theft Auto, and they did it. Grand Theft Auto was a huge hit, and they went, wait a second. Now we have the information. Now we have a template. So then they made Red Dead Redemption because they didn't want to do Revolver because it was a little bit different of a game. So that's where Red Dead Revolver came in. And I love, you talk about immersive story, and you talk about gameplay where it's like, it's challenging, but it's not. But you also have this story, and you have this giant open world, and you can kind of do what you want. There's just something about those games, Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. There's just something about them that is still to this day, to me, it's where the bar is set for me for a game like that. And I'd like to say Skyrim, but Skyrim had so many glitches, and they required their fans to fix them. I don't know if you have a game that's just kind of like, that's the bar for you.
I mean, one of the ones that I've always kind of gone back to as far as is because my ex is the one that got me into computer gaming. One of the things that he got me into was Dragon Age.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing else I wanted to play. I just wanted the character. There's nothing I'd ever played that was like that, where with the dialogue between characters and getting their commitment to you and your relationship was just as critical as doing the battles. And I thought that was
and your decisions. Your small decisions affect the overall. I love Dragon Age.
So well done. And it was, that was for the longest time. I was like, but is it like, do I love it? And then funnily enough, I don't like console games because I can't control things very well. But and I've told this to you guys before, it's the Uncharted games. I will go back to console just so that I can play Uncharted because I loved the story and the characters, and just watching it unfold it felt like I was in a movie, and then I got to participate in the movie by doing the pew-pews.
Yeah.
But that's such a cool feeling when you're just like you're part of the storytelling, and you're so engaged in it. I would actually watch my ex play it and just being like so into it. I feel like there's certain games that do it better than others. That's for sure. And some of them are swing and a miss. I really liked Mass Effect. Coming into Mass Effect later on, where everybody else has already played it.
Yeah.
I played Mass Effect 1 for the first time, and that was a really cool experience with very similar vibes of like building up relationships makes a big difference. And I would never change Skyrim. I mean, I understand though, when you're playing a game, you want to immerse yourself in it. You don't want to have to deal with glitches. That's a very valid feeling, to not want to deal with like, okay, I want to be able to like sink my teeth into this and not have to like go, okay, let me go look up the fix for this or something.
Yeah. I have a hard time with sci-fi games because I'm so entrenched in my fantasy, in my medieval fantasy and stuff. It's like, if it goes too far beyond modern, you lose me. So like games like Mass Effect, and even like some of the later Call of Duties and Halo, it was always kind of a hard pass for me because I got into PlanetSide, which is a shooter game. It was futuristic, but it was the only game I could play that was kind of a shooter that I felt that SOCOM shooter feeling.
Yeah.
So that's just
I
me.
mean, no, I mean, nothing wrong with that. I think that like there's that line for people. Sometimes they're more fantasy, sometimes they're more sci-fi. You know,
I said game snob. I warned you, game snob.
and that's fine. But it's not you being a game snob. It's you liking what you like. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I really like this one game does not mean that I find offense that you do not. It's just not your taste to your like vibes. I'm like, I will always lean heavily towards more fantasy. I it's always been a love of mine. Magic, dragons, castles, sword fights, all that stuff has always been a big passion. But I've also Star Trek and all the sci-fi shows. There are Firefly. Come on, like there's so much passion and love on that side too. But I mean, I'll always have a little bit more on the fantasy side. But I have a foot in both worlds as far as my heart goes. But not everybody is, and that's fine. I just won't bang them, so it's
right.
Sorry. Speaking from like there's certain things that you can get along with people if you don't have that sort of commonality.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. For sure. What are you playing now on stream? What have you been playing? What are the last couple of games you've been playing on stream?
Poppy Playtime, I think, is the last game I played. I think. I don't know. My streaming schedule has been so sporadic.
Yeah. Do you know when you're going to be streaming next? Do you have an idea this week? Next week?
Tomorrow I'll be streaming, but it's all just like it's very casual because I'm trying to upgrade the stream.
Okay. Have you decided? Do you know around what time? Can we promote you? Promote you. Check out PennyPootato. She's going to stream sometime tomorrow.
So the thing you should know about me is I am a chaos streamer. Yeah, the game is undecided. Time is usually around the same time. Like I have a general start time, but my life is right now. It's until both of my kids are in school and I can become a morning streamer. I have to kind of play things by like when I can get things done. But like if I can get there fast enough, if there's no interruptions, if there's no reason to have to cancel, because of my kids. But I'm also I'm going through a huge upgrade process. Trying to do the stuff that I've wanted to do for a long time, changing over to OBS, adding a new mic, all these extra little things I have to also learn how to do. New emotes, new sub badges, new this, trying to kind of change, like upgrade the flavor of the stream and all that, and just add more. Once I'm done with that, maybe I can be a little bit more consistent as far as like streaming the 5 days a week that I usually intend to do. But I kind of had that conversation with myself where I'm like, I am so dedicated to streaming as often as I can that there's no room for me to better myself as a streamer.
Yeah, you don't have time to do the work to upgrade, to fix it.
Right. So I had to basically have that, like, what are you willing to sacrifice to make this? And it's like, I mean, I think that makes when I do stream, it feels a little bit better because I'm like, okay, right now I'm like in this process. I know it's temporary, but I can actually feel good because I'm putting in the work that I do enjoy doing. I just don't have the time to do it a lot of the time.
Yeah. Most people don't realize that it's not just oh, I'm just going to click this and do. No, you have to go and either find and like just alerts alone, just emotes alone. It's like, okay, you got to find an artist or research, if you want to do like pre-mades, you have to research, okay, what fits me? Do I like how it looks? Is it too cartoony? Is it not cartoony enough? Does it show up good as an emote? Does it fit my stream? Does everybody else have these same, emotes? Or I got to contact the artist and let them know what I want and make revisions and pay them. And that's all before you even have them. And that's all time that you have to spend. And if you don't have the time to do just that, and that's just an emote.
Yeah.
And people don't realize
and
that.
Also there's a lot that's like when you're an affiliate and not partner, you are so limited. So choosing exactly, it's like I have to make my choices count. Everything I do, it's like, yeah, I have the ideas for this, this, and this, and this, but I only have enough space for this. And I have to make everything like, so you overanalyze things sometimes. I mean, just setting up my overlay. I was just like trying to like making sure everything is just so going through the emotes. I searched through so much.
Right.
And then I sat there and I talked myself out of doing so many different things too, because it's just like, I don't want to define myself as just this one thing. And that was one thing that I cared about. So I was like, now I have to be very careful. Also, just what you said, trying not to like heavily lean on a theme that might be somebody else's, you know, type of thing, where that starts to get tricky in definition. There's a lot that goes into streaming that if you're not a streamer, it's not just going live. You have to learn things that maybe you've never had to learn before.
Right.
There's hours of hours that you don't get paid for doing to set it up. It might be fun work and important work, but I mean, it's like, there's a lot that goes into it that no, I'm not just a pretty face, you know. That's actually something that somebody said to me once. They're like, oh yeah, you'll be fine as a streamer, you know, you've got a pretty face and big boobs. I was just like, that's very offensive.
Right.
And there's a lot more that goes into it, and I'm very proud of myself for the work that's gone into streaming. And there's a lot of work that other people with their different styles, what they're doing. I think what you're doing, like you know, the podcast that you do, the interviews, I think that is such a cool approach to it. And it's like, that's the epic thing, you know. Epic does those things and he's really good at it. And that's like, people go to you because they know that that's what you do, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool idea. Oh yeah, you've done really well for yourself too. I've seen, like, I wasn't there from the very beginning, obviously, but I've been around for a while, so I've seen the progression.
You were my first raid. Of course you were there from pretty much the beginning.
I mean, not from the first raid, but yeah, I mean, that was a really cool thing to be. But I've seen how you've grown in your comfort, and I know you work a lot. You work really hard, not just on there while you're doing it, and you know.
I couldn't imagine
the hours that you put in.
I couldn't imagine having kids and having to do this. Like, I will take days off of work. Like, you know, while I've had COVID, almost the entirety of me having COVID is either like, because I'm kind of quarantined into the office, so that, because my wife didn't get it. And so it's like, if she's home and I leave the room, masks. Everywhere she goes in the house, mask.
Yeah.
So like, I'm basically quarantined to the office. So it's like, if I'm not just sitting here playing a game, just trying to like, you know, keep healthy, a good chunk of my entire COVID time has been doing stream work, and nobody realizes that.
Well,
you know?
I mean,
and I can only imagine trying to live the life that you have and having kids and trying to deal with all the stuff, and then still have time to try and like upgrade and like improve it. You know,
being a mom is a full-time job, 100%. But I also know that like you have the personality for the interviews and all this stuff. You have things that you want to say and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that you do behind the scenes as far as looking into like the questions that you want to ask and making sure everybody's comfort. It's almost just like, you know, it's the same vibe as setting up a D&D campaign. The session 0, you have to make sure everybody's like, these are the topics. How do you feel about them? What do you want to talk about? It's like, there's a lot of back and forth that you have to do, and you're dependent on other people's schedules as well, which makes it extra scary for you, I can imagine. And for me, it's like, I could have my kids walk in at any time, and that frustrates me endlessly, because as much as I love my kids, I've never really wanted my kids on my stream. I knew it was unavoidable, but it was just like, so I try to limit as much as possible, but having kids means that you don't get the boundaries that you are necessarily aiming for a lot of the time. And so that's always, and then things happen. You're a mom and kids come first. But it's nonstop. And thank you so much. Thank you, Red. I appreciate it.
Yes. I concur. One thing I didn't learn very well in all of my therapy is taking any kind of compliments. I'm so bad at it. So I appreciate it, but I don't know.
We're actually doing the same thing here.
What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't.
You started complimenting me, and then I try to turn around and I'm like, no, you.
No, you.
No. Allow me to compliment you. It's better for me.
Well, I'm trying to promote your stream. They're already here.
Yeah, no, I know, but still, I mean, like, I appreciate the evolution of our friendship, and that you've allowed me to come on here. This is so very different from, I mean, the only thing I can compare it to a little bit is Wine and Women Wednesdays, where it's basically drink and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
And this feels a lot more personal, and I've loved being a part of it, and I'm really grateful that you invited me to be.
Well, we'll definitely have you back unless you're like, no, F that. We can talk about movies and music next time.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. We could just sit here and listen to Tenacious D and then get the entire view banned for copyright.
If we're doing that, I will be drinking and singing too, just
right.
so you know. So
thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure to go and give PennyPootato a follow. She will be streaming hopefully tomorrow at some point. It is chaos, so you will never know what's going to happen. So keep your eye on the alerts. In the Discords, you'll get notifications when she goes live. Go and follow her, turn your notifications on, and you will know when she goes live for all of the craziness to ensue. And make sure not to let her get a word in edgewise and just spam all of the alerts. So that is the especially if she has an announcement. That's my favorite. When you say you have an announcement and we make the entire stream about not letting you have an announcement. That's the fun part.
I avoid that word now. I took away the toy because it's just like, if I want to tell them anything, I have to sneak it in so subtly and just be like, and anyways, that was the announcement. Still play the game.
I hopefully will be streaming also tomorrow evening. I'm gonna try and stick to my schedule this week. I don't know, I'll try and probably play something a little low key and something where I'm not doing a lot of chatting. So I'm hoping you guys can come in and do all the chatting for me. Although tonight I think I've done pretty well. I haven't coughed a whole heck of a lot. I've gone through about 20 cough drops, but tomorrow's video game night. Wednesday is role playing. I don't think we have an actual game because of all the stuff that's going on with Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. We have canceled all of our 5th edition games. We will not be promoting 5th edition on this stream because screw Wizards of the Coast.
At what point did you have a cough drop? Because you don't talk like you have a cough drop in your mouth, and that bothers me. That you're able to. How do you do that? How do you
stick it between my teeth and my cheeks?
It'd still make me talk funny.
I'm
annoyed that that's a talent of yours. I
radio.
Would not have known that
Years in radio and practice.
Yeah.
I had 3 months of my podcast. Three months. I had 3 months of the podcast where I had guests on when I had bronchitis and RSV, and I had a partially collapsed lung. Everybody told me they didn't know. Even the guests, they told me, I thought you said you had this. I'm like, no, I didn't. And if that tells you anything, 3 months of RSV, collapsed lung, and bronchitis, I didn't cancel a stream. Last week I canceled the stream because of COVID.
Yeah.
So if that tells you how bad it was.
You even told me, you're like, oh yeah, I was so sick during the first one you did with Octavius, off the pod with Octavius, and I was just like, I wouldn't have been able to tell. You didn't show it at all.
Yeah, I was exhausted. I was wiped. That one also went quite long. So, but yeah, I hope to stick to the stream. So tomorrow we'll do some sort of video game. It'll probably be Minecraft. Those of you who are in our Minecraft server are more than welcome to join. I don't know if I'll be in Discord chat or not for that, but you guys are more than welcome to play with me. Wednesday is role-playing night. Check out Penny tomorrow whenever she comes on. We will see. We have new emotes. We have new merchandise. You guys can click all the links, find it all. I have a cool little new dancing emote, so when people play music in people's chats, you can do you guys can turn it up in anybody's channel now with the new emotes. And again, all of my alerts were inspired by Penny. So thank you, Penny, for being here. My inspiration for having all of the trolley alerts.
Thank you.
and everything. Nobody played any of them tonight, so I'm going to do it right now. We're going to do it right now before we go. Are you guys ready for this? I'm just going to play it now.
Let the rock off begin.
We're gonna go to Tenacious D concert together someday.
Right?
Someday.
I don't hear
Okay.
anything. Did you guys not hear that?
Oh my god.
What do you mean? How could you not hear that? There's no way you didn't. It's all bigger blood. They heard. I think they're just. Yeah, 9 said they heard it. You know what my reaction was when they said I don't hear anything? You know what my thought, my initial thought was? This is my initial thought when I heard that. I was like, they're like, I don't hear anything. I was like,
Wait, you motherfucker.
Tenacious D was my first true bonding moment with Penny Potato. All right, guys, we're going to do a raid. Thank you, Penny, so much for joining tonight. I appreciate you being here. We're going to definitely do this again. I don't know who else is going to be on the future episodes of Off the Pod, but we're going to rotate through a bunch of the awesome community members we have and do stuff. So if you want to be on there, shoot me a message and we'll figure it out and get it scheduled and stuff like that. So otherwise, everybody, love you all so much. Thank you. We're going to go and we're going to raid. He's got some amazing energy. We've raided him before, and he's on right now. Is Nobishin. Nobishin is currently doing some Fortnite, and he's just an amazing person, amazing energy, lots of fun. He hits all those marks. When we were on with Octavius and we were talking about what we like about other streams, he hits all of those marks for me. So yeah, he comes in and he'll instantly talk to you. He's super energetic. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Go and give Nobishin your love, and go ahead and use Penny's emotes, use my emotes, use your raid emotes, use whatever emotes you want for the raid, and go and say hello to Nobishin. Thank you all so much, and have a great evening.